told you it was going to be a good series. Norway take down Ukraine. There were no fisticuffs between us two. It was all friendly banter in the back as we shook hands like real gentlemen. And now we move over to a different series. We've got Bulgaria versus the Netherlands. Lorinda, how are you feeling about this one?
I am looking forward to this one. It's in the same group as the match we saw earlier between the UK and Hong Kong, which makes it a bit more interesting because we already know that the winners will play UK for a splot at BlizzCon later in the year, and the losers will play against Hong Kong for the chance to survive one more game. Bulgaria did this the hard way. They were 4-1 in the Swiss and had to play and win in the last round to get through because their tiebreakers were atrocious. They casually put out the reigning champions.
Just casually. Yeah,
if you
can defeat Czech Republic, I think that's probably a good thing. But let's take a look at the bracket. Let's remind ourselves of the teams in this group. As we did see earlier, Hong Kong, they fell to that losers bracket against the United Kingdom. And the reward for winning, as Lorinda has already rightfully mentioned, you play against the UK. If you lose, you face off against Hong Kong. You need to lose twice in this bracket to be eliminated from the competition, or win twice to advance to BlizzCon. Any favourites you would have before looking at decks, like just from players and alike?
So, I mean, obviously the Netherlands are the big name team. I've picked against them a couple of times in this tournament because I felt like maybe they weren't quite getting the results in tournaments that their big names suggested. And then Tyler qualified for championships.
Yeah, he kind of
So let's go back on that a little bit. And well done to Tyler. Very pleased to see Tyler, who's worked so hard for so long to get through there. Let's have a look at the exact lineups that we're talking about.
Yeah, because there are some incredible players on both of these teams. Even though Netherlands are the favourites in theory, you cannot count out this Bulgarian side. It was Bulgaria who, Lorinda mentioned, knocked out Czech Republic. They also beat Malaysia, Denmark, the Russian Federation and Spain to get here. As Lorinda says, hey, I noted that down too. Well, I beat you to it. Whereas on the other side, the Netherlands, which I'm sure we'll look at their pretty sights in a minute, they went 4-2 in the Swiss. They beat Turkey, Peru, Italy and Poland, only bested by Germany and Singapore.
When they say the Netherlands is flat, as I'm just going to ignore everything you just said, I didn't realise how flat until you get that.
Oh, it's really flat.
It's like super flat.
I think the highest point in the Netherlands is something like 330 meters. That's a guess. And it's considered a mountain, even though it's not actually a mountain.
Getting the facts
that's not a fact. That's just from looking at facts.
It's not one of Dan's facts, it's actually true.
I found a fact by looking for facts. But yeah, this one should be an interesting one. We'll take a look very shortly at the pick and ban phase. I think it's just about ready right about now. There we go. Bans are extremely important. You want to get rid of anything that is good against your lineup. Both rogues taken away.
And they were both quest rogues, and that tells you a lot about what these lineups do.
Yeah, you do need to try and get rid of those ones that are going to be kind of counterintuitive to what you've gone for, whether you're going for like an aggro lineup or an anti-control lineup, as both of these teams kind of went for an anti-control lineup.
Yeah, anti-control with a little bit of their own control thrown in for the most part. The difference really being to that rule of thumb is the Netherlands mage, which is actually a face mage.
Face mage rather than a control mage, which does seem to be the norm. Usually we do see face mage. It has spiraled into success as of late, and control mages kind of fell the other way. But let's have a look at how those matchups actually go up against each other, because it's extremely important that you find the good ones. It's going to be starting out with Hunter versus Paladin. It's a death rattle hunter, but it's not your normal everyday odd Paladin. Instead, it's an OTK Paladin.
Yeah, and I think chat already have been talking about this, but what's the OTK Paladin do, Dan?
The OTK Paladin, there are several ways you can approach it. You can play it as like a mid-rangey deck and just win throughout value from some of the cards that you've got playing anyway, but the way the OTK works is, of course, once you've played Uther, you summon a horseman with your hero power. Now, the horsemen, as far as I'm aware, they work very similar to the shaman hero power. You summon a random horseman every time you press that button.
You could summon like a comedy series.
You could do, and that would be great. But if you've already got horsemen on the board, you're not going to summon the same one, just like the Shaman Totem. So what you can do is you can bounce back using Ancient Brewmasters or other pandas, whatever you want to use to bounce them back into your hand. You've just got to make sure you bounce back the right ones. And you just don't really want to get unlucky by summoning the same one over and over and again, which can happen.
So that's not really an OTK, is it? It's more like a slow TK. But kills you over like 19 turns by the sound.
Yeah, but once you get everything in your hand, it's still a one-turn kill.
I mean, when you hit somebody who's on 1 health for 1, That's also a 1-turn
That's
kill.
a very valid argument. I can't really, I can't really go against that one.
OTK, I guess if they win, we'll ask them.
Either way,
get away with that.
An OTK deck in general against a Death Rattle Hunter is not going to do that well. Anything that is quite slow is going to allow a Death Rattle Hunter to build up their board with eggs, dinosaurs, and anything else they want to beast on the board, and they're just going to punch you down before you get the chance to even try that OTK.
Slowly.
Slowly.
They're going to slowly punch you down.
But there are ways for the Paladin to remove said board, so the Hunter's going to have to play around board clears, try and leave a few Death Rattles, and, you know, it helps when you call Death Rattle Hunter by leaving Death Rattles on the board.
Should just quickly mention how the rest of the lineups pan out, but I don't want to talk about game number 3. It might just be a little bit of Control Mage versus Odd Warrior. And the record of 1 hour and I think 3 minutes was set by this very same 2 people sat in these very same 2 chairs over that very same matchup last time we were here.
It was indeed.
So look forward to that one. Gonna be a quickie.
That is one we've got to look forward to indeed. But now, you've got Deathstalker Rexar in your hand as the Death Rattle Hunter, and that is one of your best ways of winning a game like this. However, you do want to be looking for that early game as well. You'd certainly like to get the job done sooner rather than later. You want to find your eggs, your Terrascale Stalkers, all your usual early game Hunter nonsense.
And this hand looks pretty nonsense to me, but they've got rid of all of it. They've got Rexar. Now they've got Houndmaster Short as well, which is another spectacular minion. You all right there, Dan?
I'm absolutely fine.
How's your phone?
Probably smashed at this point.
Okay, don't blame it. Third game hasn't even started yet. So they're really good for a bit more of an early game curve there. Didn't really get it. We've got a bit. But the Netherlands are going to be all hands on deck right from the start here.
Yeah, just looking through this Paladin deck, and if you didn't really understand my explanation of the OTK Paladin, I do apologise, but essentially what you want to do is you want to bounce back the Horsemen to your hand using Ancient Brewmasters, which are in this deck, and Zola also in this deck, and providing you do get the generations correct, at some point you should have 3 Horsemen in your hand, you put all 3 of them on the board, and then you summon the final one for the explosion of your opponent's portrait.
And I presume you can do it like the old-fashioned way, where you make some taunts, just leave a horseman behind the taunts, and slowly develop more taunts. It's not so exciting to watch, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, Giggling Inventors are in this deck. Sunkeeper Tarim, for example. There are plenty of ways to try and defend those horsemen. And of course, you do have the Blackwold Pixie as well, a way to refresh your hero power to try and give you better chances at getting the horsemen that you need. And if there are a couple of horsemen that are left on the board, then you have that chance just for that OTK.
Remember from the old version of this deck, Call to Arms was really important, surprisingly so, because it gave you a, not so much in this matchup, but a secondary win condition. Just your 2-1s and stuff hitting people actually isn't too bad.
Call to Arms isn't.
Draw some cards, hit people for a few damage.
It's a fantastic card.
And quite often that can cause your opponents to have to use too many resources, which means that when you get down to the nitty-gritty of trying to get your combo off, whether it's OTK, excuse me.
Well, I don't know what just came off. Something just happened there in your throat, Neil. Can we get this man some water, please?
Trying to drown while I'm casting.
Flashbacks of last week when I lost my voice. Now
my turn.
It's like a curse.
The curse of the voice.
And we do have Call to Arms available on turn 5, and I think that's what the Netherlands have to try and do here is they have to try and recognise, okay, we're not going to get given all the time in the world to go for this OTK, so how can we actually pressure our opponents to the point where we can just win through sheer board control, which is entirely possible. It's difficult, but it is possible.
Yeah, I feel that mulliganing away the cubes was a nod to how much time they think they have. If they felt they had all the time in the world, they could have just kept all that and just gone for super amounts of value.
Yeah.
But instead, they just keep the Rexar, try to find a bit more early game. Prismatic Lens. 1 mana Tarim.
Not that significant.
Didn't happen because they got the Call to Arms, which definitely not what they wanted. Looking for Blessing and Might or something there.
And that was a card. Prismatic Lens was... a lot of people were... Well, I say a lot of people. Several people were excited about it when it got announced. They were saying, oh, this is a really cool addition to Paladin. This might change the way Paladin is played. I'm glad it's found its way into a deck that is performing on a relatively high level. I'm not going to say it's a top-tier deck, because I'm still not sure it is a top-tier deck at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
But the fact it's being played in the Hearthstone Global Games in the last 16 suggests it is an extremely powerful deck indeed.
And the card will have a lot more chance to shine as it's here for another year. Way after the Death Knights and stuff have vanished, we're still going to have it around. Switching things around, being a pain. Paladin's always got cheap spells, so expensive minions coming down for cheap is a thing we're going to see more of.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be at some point some form of like secret Paladin being played alongside it, and it will just be nasty. But speaking of nasty, Rexar's going to start building some beasts now, and that's where it starts to get a little bit difficult for the Netherlands, because even though they do have points of removal, they don't have loads of removal, and if you start having to waste your removal on just one large minion, you are going to struggle when this board starts to get a little bit wider from the Hunter.
Ties looks weird today.
Okay.
Just hand on
Care
head.
to elaborate
I'm trying to
on
work
this?
out what he's thinking. It's like he's got the oh no face on, but I think he just forgot to remove his hand.
It's actually stuck. He has super glue on his hands.
Yeah, he's
right
sorting
now.
out his headset before he came on. Had to glue it together.
He's just trying to style it out now.
There we go. It's all sorted. Just only ripped
Woo.
off the skin.
On the other side, Silent Storm. I mean, every time this man plays, I expect a lot, because during the pick phase for the Hearthstone Global Games, he said that if he represents Bulgaria, you can expect nothing less than peak performance.
Peak performance.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm not talking Netherlands mountain peak. I'm talking
absolute
Mount Fuji mountain peak. Yeah.
Is that in Bulgaria?
No. Couldn't think of a Bulgarian mountain, unfortunately.
Well, they're trying to climb the Netherlands right now, and it's a difficult mountain to climb. All of these top quality players in the same team. And this is the mess that Call to Arms makes for your opponent. It's a card we've sort of forgotten about, even though it was obviously one of the best cards of all time until the nerf. But it still just gives your opponent a headache for the longest time.
Yeah, typically the Hunter does struggle with kind of wider boards, especially as Rexar's always been used, and that's one of the best AoE cards available. Thankfully, Shaw already being on the board allows for some rush shenanigans here.
Yeah. Drawn a lot of their beasts that you're not supposed to draw, not helping Bulgaria.
And they're going to burn a card here, and I think the reason why Netherlands are laughing is because they managed to get Uther in their hand. Burning Uther would have been pretty detrimental here.
That explains the ties position he adopted a moment ago.
Yeah. He was slightly concerned about what was on the board and how many cards were being drawn. And look, there's only 9 bloomin' cards left available for Ties here.
That's pretty ridiculous.
We were talking about how, like, it's an OTK, it's going to take a little bit of time to get to that OTK, but actually they're going to have the cards and the ability to do so, providing they hit the right horseman, relatively soon.
Maybe they should play Mechathune in it.
Then how do you kill Mechathune?
You stare at it.
Yeah.
Go away, Mechathune.
I see you've played Starry Thuni before, Lorraine.
Yes, great deck. The only thing, even though they're getting through their deck so quickly, so they are going to have the combo on time, they're still going to have use them. It's a mana-intensive combo. You can't just do the combo.
Yes.
A little bit like Topsy Priest, I guess, in that regard. If you get there early, you've still got to wait.
I mean, the benefit is Uther gives you a weapon. Obviously, that weapon has lifesteal as well, so you have the ability to survive for several turns whilst hitting that hero power. It is interesting that they have gone for the Ancient Brewmaster rather than the Youthful Brewmaster.
That is interesting to me as well. Maybe there's just nothing to do in that slot anyway.
Well, I'm guessing they're just valuing the 5/4 body instead of a 3/2 body. And, of course, no, I know why they're doing it, because of Call to Arms.
Oh, because you don't want to hit...
You don't want to summon a Youthful Brewmaster, do you?
You might.
We got them in the end, Lorinda, it's okay.
We've only been looking at it for the last 4 hours.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Why are they using Ancient Brewmasters?
Don't know what voice just came out.
I was going to ask you, and I didn't dare, just in case.
Don't know what happened there. What voice is going, where's this water we ordered from production?
Yeah, I know, they mentioned it, and yeah.
Going to the shop, buying some.
So we're getting voice in our ears now. I get voices in my head all the time anyway, but even more when I'm sat here. Anyway, back to the game of Hearthstone, and things have not gone how Bulgaria wanted in the early game, because they've just drawn all of their expensive beasts, and that means they've just been unable to develop. And even this Righteous Protector is going to buy so much time here for Ties.
Worth noting, Bulgaria are one of the few teams in the global games this week running Charged Devilsaur in their deck as well. We have touched on it a few times this broadcast. I think it is literally 3 teams that are running it.
Interesting how it's come back into the meta after vanishing for a while.
Yeah, because it was more part of like the Recruit Hunter, wasn't it? It had the Oozlings in there. But it makes a lot of sense. It makes Katharina a lot better.
And we were saying about the amount of pressure that Silent Storm is going to be able to generate in this game.
Yeah,
It's got an egg already. It's only turn 7.
It's not really been the pressure that maybe we'd expected. And even Rexar hasn't been able to help generate pressure here either.
And this is what I was talking about the secondary win condition. You can just start going face like the Netherlands are doing with this deck. And start to just drain resources. And again, that means you buy yourself infinite time. Well, not infinite time, but a lot of time.
And also very important, look at this board they're building up with Taunt. You were saying about protecting these horsemen. If Uther drops down here now, there is definitely a potential that Tyson might be able to protect a horseman or two behind these taunts, and then he might just be able to get an OTK without even using the bounce back effect.
Yeah, from the old version of this deck, what used to happen is you get your opponents down to 12, and you'd have 12 on board, and 2 of them would be horsemen. Eventually, they just can't sort of pick a side. Which one do you want to defend against? And eventually, it just folds up. But that's not Hunter I'm talking about. It's just decks in general. This Hunter has plenty of fight back potential, except for the fact that Kasvina looks absolutely awful right now.
And I am wondering who in the Netherlands, like whose decision it was to bring this deck. I know I have seen Tice playing a lot of it on ladder.
Yeah, Theo's a fan, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense when someone on your team has been playing it a lot and they feel confident in it and it's performing well. They will be able to show statistics as to what it's been performing well against. They pitch that argument to the rest of the team and the team goes, yeah, sure. I can't see why it wouldn't work.
And if you can pitch an argument for a deck being as good as anything else, and it's a funky deck that people haven't played against much, you have an inherent advantage there too. And again, just not even bothering with the attack plan, just keeping everything under control, clearly on the OTK plan now. Yeah, it's a shame we don't get to see more. I mean, we get glimpses from interviews, but more of the inner workings of all those decisions. We hypothesize a lot.
How would we see those inner workings though without just
webcams
spying on everyone in the global games? Maybe that's the contract for next year. You have to be filmed 24/7.
Wow. And that's just the casters.
Yep.
Maybe not. Let's not do that.
No, that would be a bad.
You still want the outtakes.
Yeah.
And they were the edited ones.
But now this is where it starts to get a little bit scary for Bulgaria. That horseman hero power is something they have to be very concerned about. They need to wrestle board control back now. They can do that. King Crush can take down Tyrion. The Scavenging Hyena that's left can take down this 1/1. Or the Charged Devilsaur does the same thing.
Yeah, it gets rid of the weapon as well for the best time. As in, you get rid of the weapon and you only have to deal with one Ashbringer.
But considering there are only 6 cards left, we don't see one of those Brewmasters available yet for the Netherlands. They do have however.
Do you want to water?
Stuck then. I said howl 3 times, it just scared me. Thank you. Oh, water's arrived, great. They do, however, have Zola, so they could just go hero power into Zola if they wanted to. Because then it means if Bulgaria don't remove this first horseman, they're guaranteed to get another horseman that is different to the current one they've just thrown back to their hand.
Yeah, that's Mr. Horse. That's the first one.
So we'll call that one Jeff.
Jeff?
They have actual names, but let's go. What is it? Inquisitor.
It's Jeff.
With Jeff.
Because I can't remember the names of the 4 horsemen at this short notice, I'm afraid.
So Jeff is in their hand. Now they just need Barry, Fred, and Bob, and then.
I knew there'd be a Bob.
Bob's your uncle.
Oh, goodness. It's a good thing we give that walk back.
Stop talking.
It's a good job we didn't have time to make up silly names for all of them.
I know.
Because we would have spent the time doing that rather than researching the actual names.
Yes.
And then it had some sort of bad puns connected with them.
Yeah, that would have been a backlash, wouldn't it? But this is slightly concerning for Bulgaria.
Slightly.
Well,
They're not getting anywhere.
they put Rexar on 6, and they've only built one beast.
Yeah.
They haven't been given the chance to be building beast after beast after beast. They
That's
haven't
all come from the call to arms.
Yeah. And it was. You were completely right. One of those call to arms being a 6 mana call to arms after the swap as well.
Because why not? But it does show you how much you can empty your deck really quickly using the prismatic lens on top of the call to arms.
And now Silent Storm is recognizing that this is starting to get slightly intimidating, so he is going fairly wide here. But that can be answered by an Equality Consecrate.
It's the only one they've got, though. Uses up a lot of their turn. They're not getting any win out of the weapon in this game, so it is all about the Horseman. And so far, they've only got Jeff in hand.
Yeah, and maybe they feel okay at 25 as well.
Yeah.
Which I guess you can with King Crush potentially coming out. Still doesn't provide lethal.
It does hurt, though, doesn't it, King Crush?
It does a lot.
Really does.
But you could start with a Hero Power C, and you're guaranteed to get a new Horseman. Bob will arrive. You can Brewmaster Bob back to your hand, then you have Jeff and Bob available.
Yep.
And then suddenly, all you need to do is play Jeff and Bob.
Billy. I can't remember the other one.
Dave.
Was it Dave? It wasn't Dave. I don't
Wasn't
remember
Dave.
Chat will know.
But I think you do have a little bit of time to work with here.
Yeah, and Ty's has played this a lot, right? He's been streaming this deck. And so he'll know exactly how much time he has, which is really important when you're playing this sort of deck.
And look at this. He's protecting his 2 horsemen. It means that if neither of these horsemen are killed, he has Hero Power, the Pixie, Hero Power. Game over.
Yeah. And he's 2 off lethal in the meantime.
He's just going down both routes. King Crush can kill off the Terran. He then does have the board to deal with both of the horsemen.
And we can see, yeah, there's very little else that they've got as options. And when you get into that mode where you're trying to kill your opponent, but all you're doing is killing horsemen all the time, it can go wrong very quickly. More taunts still to come for Ties in the form of Mr. Giggles.
Is Giggling Inventor a
I don't know.
Mr. or a Mrs.?
I don't know. I just always think it looks like Chucky.
Ah, okay.
So I'll go with Mr. But could definitely be a Mrs.
I thought Giggling Inventor was a female. But
Probably is.
Yeah.
I play with the sound off, so I don't get to hear the pictures.
So I think Bulgaria will be thankful that they do have this Charged Devil, King Crush
Charged Devil's
in their hand. Otherwise, things could have got nasty very quickly.
I mean, things did get nasty very quickly. They just got unnasty for the time being.
No, they're leaving Jeff on board. That's fine, because they know that only Jeff is in hand.
Well, I'm just trying to consider the implications of having Jeff in hand, like, as if it was important.
Well, it'd be worse if there was, if any other horseman was in hand, then there would be potential for lethal.
Yeah. Well, Bulgaria getting in position where the beasts might start to stick. Easy for me to say. But Ties has got to find a way to get Giggling Inventor to stick, and that might mean face tanking 8.
I'm kind of liking trading into both eggs. Maybe
Equalitize.
Equality and Consecration.
Start the process again.
And then press that button. Get Billy onto the board.
No peace, no rest.
And just generate all of this pressure. Because yes, Bulgaria can kill one of these horsemen, but they're killing Jeff, and Jeff's already in the hand. So you can go Jeff, Pixie, Hero Power. Or Hero Power, Jeff, Pixie, Hero Power. Win the game.
Yeah, that wins the game.
Although Tundra Rhino might change that.
Yeah, I mean, oddly enough, Bulgaria are trying to stop the Netherlands from winning the game.
Correct.
And they have been for some time. They're not doing a very good job of it so far.
You need a low-cost minion with this Tundra Rhino, though.
I mean, you know that the Netherlands have the combo in hand almost certainly, because they're down to 4 cards already.
Just about managed to find that low-cost minion. But it's okay, it works. You can pick the scale height so you can gain a little bit of lifesteal as well. Kill off both of these horsemen.
And hang in there for another turn. And if at any point, basically Bulgaria's win condition, what is going on, is to stick a couple of high health minions that can't be dealt with now the equality's gone. And eventually... that would allow them to...
So don't they just have lethal now?
Looks like
they play Jeff, they hero power,
yeah,
they Pixie, they hero power again,
yeah.
and they just win. That clearly
know.
seems like a mistake from me from Silent Storm. You had the opportunity to kill off. You knew Jeff was in hand. And by Jeff, I mean the horseman that you don't want to be able to be played. Tice is going to be able to find a victory with his OTK Paladin in an unfavorable matchup. And I have to say, it seems like a little bit of a misplay from Silent Storm and the Bulgarian side.
Yeah, I agree. I think Silent Storm didn't seem to realise how much danger he was in there, and maybe trying to hurry it, because he was in a position there where if he could stick a couple of high health minions, which was easier said than done, but we've seen a lot of the removal, just start killing the 2/2s every single turn, you might be okay. Especially as you can start punching face a bit with a charge as well.
And I'm wondering
take a while, but
if that's just down to lack of knowledge of the deck that they're playing against. Maybe they just forgot that Pixie existed. Maybe they were thinking, all right, we're absolutely fine at this point because they've only got one of their horsemen in hand. They're not going to be able to get all 4 of them on the board.
Zoned gone, so yeah.
But yeah, that seems like a bit of a mistake, and the advantage of bringing a deck that maybe not everyone is well rehearsed in.
Yeah, it did seem unusual, but maybe we're missing that there was a kill the other way anyway or something. But yeah,
fairly certain if you
I'm
pick
with you.
Lifesteal, he's still all right. But I mean,
and he did look sort of slightly surprised. Oh, that's that then.
Yeah, and I think you guys watching at home as well, you'll have a very good idea of what happened there, and I think you'll know as well something wasn't quite right. But either way, Netherlands are going to be delighted, and I'm sure Netherlands fan alike are going to be delighted, and I'm expecting a lot of cheers in the Twitch chat for the Netherlands to try and catch up the United States, who have an enormous amount of cheers, by the way. Have you seen how many cheers they actually have?
This many.
Isn't it like 3 million or something?
That would be that many.
That's ridiculous.
It's a lot of cheers.
Let's have a look at the matchup and see what is going to be game number 2 then. It's going to be Warrior versus Priest. That is an odd Warrior for Bulgaria and a Control Priest for Netherlands. Now, when I initially looked at this matchup, I thought this was potentially a 3-0 to Bulgaria, but with Netherlands taking this kind of unfavored victory in a sense, they have managed to even up this matchup a little bit, and we are potentially going to go all the way to a game 5 here after looking at some of these matchups.
And it could be a long one, as we alluded to earlier, because not only have we got the odd Warrior versus the Priest now, but then we have everybody's favourite, the Mage versus the odd Warrior.
Yeah, the odd Warrior versus the Mage is a bit of a meme between us two because we've cast it 3 times, and we did have officially the longest game of the global games with that particular matchup.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's not an exciting one, because when it gets to those last few turns,
it's always so close. We know that the Mage is a massive favourite, which is what makes it a bit more of a meme. But the Warrior can get it done, and it always seems to be like, oh, there's always one decision point where if they'd just done it slightly differently, actually the Warrior could have found a way to sort of pounce onto a victory.
And I think it was the Netherlands, in fact, who won with the Mage in like something like after 7 turns of fatigue, where they had calculated it, and it was a phenomenal match. But as we wait for these players to get ready, it's fact time.
Hooray!
Why,
Dan?
why can't you be excited about my fact?
I said hooray! What more excitement do you want?
I said that's 47 facts so far in the global.
Hooray!
So you should be excited about that.
I am excited. Do I not look excited?
Right, in the Netherlands, they have the lowest percentage of lactose intolerance in the world.
I believe that one.
Okay, you're not going to ask me any follow-up questions?
The highest percentage is probably the USA. You probably already guessed that. So let's go with why.
Why is probably just because they are very high with their dairy in their diet. Like, I think they're one of the highest outputters of cheese in the world.
That's why they output cheese.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do things to you.
Yeah, because they're like, we've got so much of this now, we can get rid of it. Apparently only 1% of Netherlands are lactose intolerant.
There's a big difference between Europeans and Americans. I'm nodding because Sage Mount. I knew something about it. I didn't know it was the Netherlands, but Europeans and Americans don't tend to understand just how much sort of milk and stuff Europeans can drink without bad things occurring.
We do love our dairy.
So if you ever sort of in America and you challenge Americans to a milk drinking contest and you're from Europe, you will win. It's great.
And that competition probably exists in England as
It's somewhere in Dorset.
bog drinking probably exists as well.
Nettle drinking.
In Bulgaria, though, did you know that they shake their heads for yes and they nod for no?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Unless I watched last year. It might have done.
It's an old tradition, but it still happens nowadays
That
in
sounds
Bulgaria.
really terrifyingly... Something... I'm not going to tour there. Something really bad could happen.
And it goes back to religion, apparently, where they were trying to hide religion back in the day. So they would nod, saying, or yes, but they really meant no. It was something about religion in the heart and all of that. But anyway, enough of my facts.
Yes, for 1 year.
I'm sure you'll all be delighted.
47 facts.
Yeah, probably a bit much, isn't it?
It's only one per team, really.
That's not bad.
I'll let you have one per team from now on.
So Control Priest versus Odd Warrior, typically similar to an OTK deck against an Odd Warrior. No, sorry, unlike an OTK deck against an Odd Warrior.
We've both had it now.
Yeah, it's terrible. You are going to struggle finding all of your damage against an Odd Warrior, unfortunately.
And you need that damage really quickly.
Yeah,
Because they're just going to armor and armor and armor and Navi tank up and just keep going and going.
So was that Navi tank up?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a problem with that?
Hmm?
Not a Navi sub?
Not at the moment.
I'll tell him.
So yeah, you really want to get as much damage, and that's why we see the keep of Shadow Reaper Anduin here from Tyler.
Yeah.
As we already mentioned, he has qualified for the full championships.
And I think there's
Yeah.
probably not... I was going to say there's probably not a more popular player qualified, but then Saiyan did, who's probably just as popular. But everybody, I think, wants to see Tyler get the championships, apart from possibly the people he beat. Because he's been working so hard for so long, been on the bubble in tournaments multiple times for getting into top 16s, been on stream at like 4-0 in Swiss tournaments multiple times, and finally getting it done this time around. I think everybody's really pleased for him. It's going to be a heck of a championships as well.
Oh, the 16 players that have qualified, it's so stacked. And
we nearly had Hunter Ace on top of all that.
I know what could have been. But notice this turn one is an interesting one for Netherlands. They thought about playing the Cleric because, of course, even though it doesn't seem much, that one damage chipping away over and over might help. But they're valuing the card draw from the Cleric to be more important here.
Yeah, there's no easy way to get the card draw right now. And again, they've got the decision to make. Do you play the Wild Pyromancer and try and sneak in some damage, or do you try and actually draw some cards? And they decided to try and get that damage in there.
Yeah, now you start trying to chip away, and Bulgaria, in theory, should just be saying, all right, we armor up. We don't care about this 3 damage. It's whether they say, we want to stop this damage now, and we just play a Mind Control tech to challenge on board. But that Mind Control tech might come in handy later. Maybe the Priest goes wide. Maybe the Priest puts
more to the point,
minions
if
on
you
board.
do play it, then the Priest can go wide.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're releasing that lock from them. There are 2 MC techs, so you could actually play the first one.
So let's talk best case scenarios for the Priest. Let's say they find all 4 Mind Blasts, and
Yep.
they have that 20 damage extra available. Let's say worst case scenario, the Warrior only gains 20 armor before that
That's
happens.
turn 5, yeah.
Alex Straza comes down.
Sure.
You're still struggling, aren't you?
You are. So you've got to get minion damage to stick. You've got to
When you're
do it.
stretching.
Absolutely got to get the minion damage through. And you've got a decent amount of it to get through.
And the minion damage sometimes can get through, and that's why this isn't a 100% matchup for the Odd Warrior. I think it's probably closer to like maybe 70-30, might even stretch Verger to maybe like 75-25. You're looking at me with eyebrows to suggest...
No, I'm just looking at this sort of Northshire Cleric coiny, healy mess. To draw 2 cards. But yeah, I was looking at, what were you saying before I so rudely ignored you?
I was just saying it's a very favourable matchup for the Warrior, but there
Yeah.
are ways and outs for the Priest, and one of those is minion pressure. But you can already see Fricky's hand. Dynamatic is there, Reckless Flurry is there, Brawl is there.
But they
as
don't
well.
need to apply huge chunks of pressure in one go. If they can just keep the armor under control and forget the 30 health, so if they can just keep 1 minion at a time, maybe 2, so that Brawl and Reckless Flurry become 1-for-1 cards rather than AoEs.
Yep.
Then maybe you can stick a Twilight Drake for an extra 2 turns and hit them for 8. As long as the armor is under control, that's how you get a chance to win. And they have actually gone for the eyebrow-raising play.
And you could save your kind of all-in play of like trying to encourage a Reckless Flurry for maybe when there is a lot of armor available, because you're like, we want you to get rid of your armor here, so please, by all means, clear this board.
And now it's presented a problem, because not only is it the 2 cards drawn last turn, but yeah, they've got that Reckless Flurry gone. So they managed to get rid of that, and now they can go to their Twilight Drake turn and start to develop like normal decks would, and put actual minions on the board rather than whatever they've messed around with for the first 3 turns.
So something that the Netherlands do need to be actively concerned about is the fact that Bulgaria do have an Azalina in their deck.
Oh.
And that means if Tyler does hold on to damage, if he starts playing Shadow Visions and his hand starts to get a nice juicy size, Freaky could just say, all right, my hand's full of pretty much nothing, I've gained enough armor, let's just play
your
Azalina, and then I get all your Mind Blasts.
Yeah, so much to worry about.
I don't think we even see a Geist available. We don't. There's not even a Geist in the Netherlands deck, so they can't even
Shield
like,
Slams then.
kill off Shield Slams or Omega Assemblies.
You look very sort of down in the dumps about the prospect for this particular game of Hearthstone.
Well,
not in a
always-
biased way for once, just in a this is a really pessimistic matchup.
Sorry, was that not in a biased way for once?
Maybe.
Are you suggesting I am often biased with my casting, Lorinda?
Not often.
No, you literally said for once, which would suggest often.
I mean, out of today's casts before this one, in about 100% of them.
So 50-50, I am biased, is what you're saying.
Maybe.
Okay. How high can I get your voice to go is the real question.
Don't try.
Don't try.
It'll be fine.
But the reason why I want to try and find, and why I'm always like scouring through deck lists, is because I love watching games where they are at a disadvantage, where it is unlikely they're going to find a victory. I mean, look at the series we just had before with Norway. They were even tweeting out saying, oh, we've got such unfavorable matchups, how on earth are we going to win? And you're like, oh, wait, there are some pretty incredible players on the Norwegian side. That's how they're going to win.
Yeah, Tyler realised his mistake there, just too late. It was a Dynamatic turn. So much you have to think about when playing against the Odd Warrior.
So did he not heal up? Was that the mistake?
Yeah, he could have just played it all differently, had a chance to, yeah. But I agree with you. I think there's not much more interesting in Hearthstone than trying to find wins from really hard-to-win matchups. Obviously, getting a massive advantage out of a 50-50 is probably up there as well.
Yep.
But yeah, watching somebody relentlessly winning like Huntrace was doing with Druid versus Druid for most of the year is pretty amazing. But yeah, finding out where is your win percentage? Where do you find your 30% or your 25%? Because sometimes you look at replay sites and a match you've never won in 20 attempts, and you see it's like 37%, and you're like, how?
Yeah, how are these people finding it? And usually it's because they will go down a different route of the normal playstyle. You can't just play the deck how you would play it against any other deck, and the decks you're used to facing. You have to change your game plan ever so slightly.
And it's so hard to break out of the habit of what your deck normally does.
Yeah.
So if you're on autopilot on ladder and you keep facing the same matchup and you just do your thing because you're not paying attention properly, suddenly you realise you've lost that matchup 6 times and realise you should have won it twice. Then you have to stop and have a think before you play it again. Otherwise you do the same thing again and like, oh, why did I do this again?
But Tyler has done very well at keeping this armor at bay.
Yeah.
There's only 4 of it at the moment. He has the ability to kind of keep this board nice and clear with the Duskbreaker here.
And he's done it 1 minion at a time. Just playing 1 minion of his own, forcing Bulgaria to clear it. And you can see Bulgaria are down to not a particularly great hand. It's not a disaster, it's fine. But, yeah, the flurry's gone, bits and pieces have gone. They're onto their second MC Tech already, which they really don't want to play now because that will encourage Tyler to go a bit wider.
And I mean, with double Mind Blast already in hand, you can play Shadow Reaper Randuin. If you can pick up that Alexstrasza and you've kept this armor low, you have a chance at just killing your opponent over the next few turns.
Yeah, you can definitely keep that armor down when Anduin starts to to pew pew. He only pews these days, I guess. One here and there.
Oh, and I like this.
Another cheeky 3 to the face, where trades would have been most people's choice.
Well, this screams to me, if they have a way of removing our board this turn and somehow this at least survives, we just have Shadow Reaper and Anduin that can kill off that at least anyway.
And again, no damage taken, no damage, no armor gained. I want to say no damage taken by. Wow. Another flurry gone, and again being used as one-on-one because Tyler's not letting them get more than 1-for-1 out of their cards. So why wait? Why save it all for when he makes a mistake? He's not going to make that mistake. He's made it clear. I'm going to play 1, possibly 2 minions a turn.
And I think this Sunwalker is a big pickup actually from Bulgaria because their hand was starting to look slightly sour. Whereas this is something that is going to be able to stick onto the board and be a bit of a nuisance for the Netherlands.
You know what's going to be a nuisance though? I think is this Anduin.
Yeah.
Both Northside Clerics have gone, so the healing hero power is not as good as it would be normally either.
And I mean, they kept it from the mulligan, so I think you keep it with the intention of playing it on 8. Of course, a board state can change that, but this isn't a particularly threatening board state. You're not waiting for any large minions to come onto the board before you play Anduin.
And so they play Purple.
So, I mean, but it was worth considering, but they are still thinking, we have the opportunity here to build a board, to get more chip damage.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't want to relinquish the tempo. Anduin's pretty bad at tempo. Maybe he does get a chance to take down a big minion.
Truth is my shield.
This Mass Dispel is looking tasty.
Alongside a Pyromancer, I'm feeling it.
Psychic Scream is making Tyler have a bit of a thinky, because he could play the Pyromancer after it. But you're giving your opponent 3 good taunt minions, so you probably don't want to be doing that. Yeah, I think that's Tyler's turned up nose was thinking the same thing.
I must consider.
Don't really want to play another Primordial Drake yet, I wouldn't have thought, although it does do good work.
You can take this slightly slow.
Yeah.
But here we can see the impact of that Sunwalker. I mean, let's say the Stonehill Defender had just picked up something like average.
A thing, yeah.
Like, even if it was just a 4-5 minion without Divine Shield, this would be a bit more comfortable for Tyler.
Yeah, it would, just a bit.
But as you said, Mass Dispel is quite nice here. It allows you to cycle through your deck and gets rid of this Divine Shield comfortably. You can send the extra damage to face and get on with your day.
I was wondering whether you commit to the... do you commit anything?
What, Twilight Acolyte?
Might be okay. You want to keep that. Every card you keep in your hand is 2 more damage than you do with Anduin.
And Twilight Acolyte could be used later in conjunction with the Cabal Shadow Priest to steal a big mech, for example.
Don't think we'll see much of Dr. Boom in this game for a bit. I might be wrong, but the tank up seems too important right now.
I think you are quite correct.
We might see quite a bit of Dr. Boom in the next game if it's drawn, though. Against Mage, where you're trying to get that value over the course of 1,000,000 turns.
And that's the only weird thing I find with Dr. Boom in this deck is you are making your hero power worse, in theory. Depends on the situation, of course, but it's slightly different when you play other warrior decks, like, for example, the Mechathune warrior that exists, or even like a Tempo warrior. Dr. Boom makes your hero power just a hell of a lot better.
I think the problem is, if everybody plays the same deck and one of you doesn't have Dr. Boom, you lose, because they just outvalue you and your 4's laughed at by Dr. Boom and his 4 armor undoing devices.
I guess one of the big benefits with Dr. Boom is the rush mechanic for your mechs, your mechanics.
He's just all around better value when you've already got enough armor. Because there comes a point where tanking up just becomes completely, it's diminishing returns on your armor. When you go from 40 armor to 44, nobody cares anymore.
And Fricky really taking advantage of the old kryptonite of priests, of 4 attack minions.
Yeah, never heard it called that before. I've heard it called pretty much everything else.
You never heard it called the kryptonite?
No, it's because I don't listen to your casts.
Even when we're casting together.
No, especially then.
Yeah, explains a lot, Lorinda.
Which is more than you do.
Touché.
Right, Netherlands still in this situation where they're trying to keep this armor under control. But now Bulgaria getting the big taunt in the way this time. It only takes those 1 or 2 turns and suddenly you've gone from 0 to 12 armor.
Yeah, and it feels pretty annoying having to play Anduin here, but it does allow you to ping off this 4-1.
Like, they've kept this armor under control so well, but it's still right on the fringe of just going out of control even now. Which is what makes it such a hard matchup. Because you've got to never let it get out of control.
Shadowy thoughts.
And it's why, really, Priest doesn't really have a place at the moment in the ladder meta. Because there are so many druids about, there's so many odd warriors about, it is just an absolutely excruciatingly painful matchup.
And its good matchups aren't great. It can go kind of wrong sometimes. Even against the aggro decks, which it's supposed to be beating, sometimes it just gets hit in the face and loses.
If you don't get your Duskbreakers, for example, you can just lose to a Paladin. If you don't get your Pyromancer and whatnot. So it is one of the weaker areas of Hearthstone classes at the moment. And I've got to say, I'm pretty disappointed that we've not seen an innovative new Priest deck that has topped the rankings. I know we've seen Topsy, we've seen kind of a few people try Inner Fire Priest, but...
Mechathune.
Yeah, Mechathune Priest, but still I'm a bit
None of them have stuck, but haven't we had enough Priest for one sort of decade?
No.
And I enjoyed massively, as I said earlier, Vizaka's Priest, because I'm that sort of person. But actual grindy, heal my minions, hit your minions, 3 hours later win the game Priest, I don't miss it. Gotta be honest.
I miss Murloc Priest. I want an I want an aggro Priest to exist.
That's fair.
Was that a Mega Defender picked up?
Looks like it. Third Mind Blast. Is that the second one actually drawn now? I believe it is. But I'm not 100%.
I know, well, yeah, obviously one of them is from a Shadow Visions.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it's just drawn this one, so it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Except it's not, because the answer's out there.
Shadowy thoughts.
And now Tyler's looking in sadness at these psychic screams. Like, if you do it, you're just giving them more, yeah, I don't like this, do you? You see Tyler's enthusiasm with his play. It's been forced by Bulgaria, to be fair. Slowly gaining control of the board.
Fricky is one of those players who consistently hits top 500 on ladder every season. I think his best, he said, is top 10, which is nothing to be sniffed at.
That's pretty good. Like 9 people do better than that each month. Yeah. That's pretty good going.
And he didn't say where in top 10. That might just mean like 10th
just
place.
Modest.
Yeah. Usually when you state top 10, it's probably 10.
Yeah, he's like, you say top 7. Yeah. You know exactly what they meant.
There's a Mega Defender now being put on the board. Is going to be a little bit of a problem for the Netherlands. They do have to answer it. Alex Straza turns up, but slightly late.
Yeah.
That armor has now got out of control.
The whole thing is just caving in.
It's all falling apart.
That's kind of the same thing.
If caving in and falling apart is slightly different, I would say.
Not if you're a cave.
Still slightly different.
What happens when a cave falls apart?
Maybe it falls like outward rather than
That's
inward.
Not how caves fall apart, and you know it.
I don't know it. I'm not really a cave expert, to be honest.
Well, that's obvious from this conversation.
Yeah. I apologise for everyone out there who is a budding cave enthusiast. Cannot help you. However, if you're a budding Hearthstone enthusiast, just about
we'll give it a go. So he's going with the Alex anyway. It's one way to challenge the stuff that is going on the board, but Bulgaria are in such a powerful position now.
And as they should be. I know we do discuss favourables, non-favourables, maybe slightly too much.
I think so.
In the global games. However, this is one of them. This is one of the miserable matchups because there isn't really an alternate win condition for the Priest. It is still the same win condition that is, these Mind Blasts have to do damage, my Hero Power has to do damage, I have to hope for a little bit of board control.
Yeah, there was a day when Priests could hit, say, Quest Rogue in the face with their minions.
Yeah.
But you can't hit Odd Warrior in the face with your Pyromancer. It's just... I mean, you can, and you do, for the game plan we saw, try and keep the armor under control. But you're not going to kill them from it. You've got to do your thing that you do, which is the Alex and the pings and all that other stuff.
And now with Ziliax as well, that's going to be lifesteal, so Alex Straza is suddenly going to be told, well, you were pointless, why did you even arrive at the party at this point?
It's sent back. Your name's not down, I'm afraid.
Not on the guest list.
And from doing a really good job for, what, 8 turns?
Well, this is what they've been saving this Twilight Acolyte for. They've been saving it for this Cabal Shadow Priest. So they can steal any of these minions if they would like to.
I'm sure they'd like to, but let's say like steal them all.
You could Twilight Acolyte the Omega Defender and then steal it, and then your Twilight Acolyte is protected, and suddenly it's 12-4.
Fair. Because they don't know about the Owl in Hand.
Nope.
Yeah, from where they're at, that seems easy. Just go Psychic Scream though. And launch 2 more damage into the chunky armor now.
And I think the important fact is Ziliax is not put back into that deck.
That's a good point.
Because it was the second mechanical minion magnetized, it just gets destroyed. But the problem
is running out of everything.
Yeah, the problem that Tyler has is there's currently 38 health for Fricky.
Yeah, that's quite the problem when you can't do 38 damage.
And now you can start to see why game number 1 was such a huge win for the Netherlands.
Right, they would have been real trouble if they're in this position 1-0 down.
They could have been 2-0 down after this, going into an Odd Warrior versus Big Spell Mage matchup as well, which not quite as unfavourable as this one, I would say.
Although we've never ever seen it win.
Although we've never seen it win.
It always looks like it's going to.
This
and
is the
doesn't
thing.
Every time.
Maybe it is just as unfavourable, but the Odd Warrior just has that chance to get so close right at the end, it feels like it should be
And that's
better.
why you get those mega long matches with it, because you can't concede, because you always think one extra delivery drone I would have won. And I'm sure once or twice we've seen it, like literally a delivery drone bringing a non-terrible minion would have just won the game. You're usually like 1 minion short.
And I think we even saw randomly generated minions from Elise's pack that won the game for the mage, for example.
Yeah, it's that close on value. It's a little bit less close than it appears, because the more minions you play, the more water elementals your opponents get.
Yep.
So that's why it feels close. But that'll be next up. And we should probably talk about it when it's in progress. Otherwise, we're going to have an hour of us just doing a little dance on the table or something.
And I've
Murlocs
already
windows.
used my facts, so that's not good.
The facts have gone.
Facts have gone.
The match discussion's gone. Tyler, please save us.
Someone might need to save Tyler at this point. It's all well and good this hero power being able to keep them on board, but the fact that there is just answer after answer for Bulgaria.
Yeah. And this is why you can afford to play Dr. Boom. Because in the matchups where you're favoured, you just keep it in your hand. I know it's a waste of a card, but it's fine in a favoured matchup.
And soon it becomes a point where they can actually just play Dr. Boom onto the board if they want. They are that far ahead, they have gained enough armor that they will probably feel confident that they are going to hit that armor gain, that 7 extra armor, at least once every, I don't know, X amount of turns. I don't know what the statistical percentages are.
But there's 5 hero powers.
Yes.
So it's on 5 turns.
Yes.
So it's 1.4.
You're not guaranteed it every 5 turns, are you?
No, but no.
On average.
On average.
Yeah.
It's like 1.4 armor. But yeah.
Which is enough.
It's enough to tide you over, especially if it's going to be 10 or 20 turns. We have seen wild fluctuations in what you can get, though, in fairness, using that average. Like, talking about delivery drones, we've seen people get sort of almost every other turn sometimes. You see it not turn up at all for one country.
A reminder that whoever does win this matchup will face off against the United Kingdom tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow. And it will be late in the day because Hong Kong have to play second.
And that will be a win and in situation for BlizzCon as well.
Win and into BlizzCon.
Yeah, that is going to be quite the pressured matchup.
Sure is.
But if you lose, you're down to that lower bracket and suddenly you are fighting for your BlizzCon life.
Let me change your mind.
Tyler still plugging away, trying to develop one last board, and again, they've got to do it slowly because of brawls, because of MC techs. Getting the 2-1's a big deal here, protects from Dynamatic. That puts Bulgaria down to only 312 ways to deal with this board.
And if we could see the Bulgarian webcam, I'm sure we would see them shaking their head a lot. But it would mean, yes, they're feeling good about themselves because it's backwards over there.
I have to ask somebody about this sometime.
Who would you like to ask?
I'm going to ask a Bulgarian, and if he nods his head, I'll know it's
Will you?
nothing.
Well, you don't know because apparently nowadays, like, some Bulgarians are going towards the more traditional yes and no. As,
Some.
Yeah, but not all, and that's what makes
That's
it
a
even
mess.
more confusing if you're to go to Bulgaria. Is this the way to the bathroom? They nod at you.
So you have
What
to ask
on
like
earth do you
3
do?
of them in a row and do the logic puzzle to work out
Exactly.
what the answer is. Like, are you a head nodder for yes? Or is the guy next to you nodding his head meaning yes? Or whatever that question is that helps you solve yes-no puzzles. It's that. I'm going to Bulgaria, I'm going to learn the Bulgarian for is the guy next to you nodding his head meaning yes? And then work it out from there.
Go from there. Meanwhile, Tyler, he's sinking lower into his chair,
Yeah.
and his hand is covering his face even more. These are the matchups that you don't really want to play.
Yeah, Tyler can stream for like 200 hours without looking tired, but one game of Priest versus Warrior and he is done.
Yep. It's not an enjoyable experience when you are on the receiving end. If you are the Warrior, you are laughing you're just, it's easy.
And you've got
all
ties
of
in your
the
ear saying,
toys.
well, I won my game.
Yeah, you've got so many toys available. They just clear board after board, and you're like, when are they going to concede?
Shadowy thoughts.
Yeah, Django's just sat with his feet up somewhere waiting for this match to finish so he can actually, get into the action. It's like, Fricky, you got this? Like, yeah, I've had this for the last 11 turns or so.
He's literally told everyone to go for a break.
Yeah, just go off and chill for a bit.
The shadow.
Come back and he's lost. What happened? I got unlucky. Tyler drew his card.
I had no one hand tracking. I didn't know how many mind blasts.
So I went down to 5.
I thought I was safe.
So I was safe on 6.
And that Sunwalker has
Yeah.
done full circle. It got thrown back into the hand from Psychic Scream, and she returns.
Yeah, and this time, going to be even more of a nuisance. Dan's trying to work something out.
I mean,
It's a cow.
no, it's a Tauren.
Same thing.
No, well, I mean, yes, but no. But yes.
So what's the difference?
Well,
Lawman.
a Tauren is not a cow, because a Tauren is a walking, talking thing
That looks
exists.
like a cow.
Which probably descends from some form of cow.
So it's a bovine.
It's a what?
It's a cow.
I don't know, I wouldn't go around calling Taurens cows.
Would you not?
No, no.
What would happen?
They'd moo at you, and then...
They'd utterly wreck me, right? So what were you looking at?
I was just trying to work out if it was a male or female Tauren, because I did say she. I think it is a female Tauren.
Truth is my shield.
Yeah, I think it is.
Tyler has drawn a Twilight Drake. Next turn.
And there isn't much discussion going
That's
on.
my discussion for this turn.
And Netherlands won't really have much to say either. At this point, they're like...
Tyler has drawn a Twilight Drake.
The thing is, they keep going at it because maybe, just maybe, Bulgaria don't have that board clear.
Yeah, and the health total isn't quite out of sight. We're memeing about it because it's going to be out of sight soon enough, but like you say, if they do stick that one board that doesn't get cleared, and you can sneak in 10 damage and then maybe some 4s, maybe.
But then soon, fatigue's going to start to come into play. Only 3 cards left for the Netherlands. They have drawn through the entirety of their deck. They're hoping, they're praying that they can get something, but
The shadow.
they are clutching at straws by this point.
You can do it, Tyler. You can do it.
You can build a 3-minion board, Tyler.
How big a mistake could it be?
Let me
Like-
change.
And he'd already played the Twilight Acolyte,
Yeah.
so you have to commit to it by that point.
Just listening to Ty's excitedly talking about OTK Paladin in the background with Theo.
Yeah, and the widest that Netherlands have gone so far this game of 3 minions is instantly met by a brawl from Bulgaria as well. It can be killed off with the Dynomatic. Whew.
It's looking like it's going to be 1-1, Dan. Who'd have thought it?
You know, I still think there's a chance for the Netherlands here.
So does Tyler.
They've got 3 Mind Blasts. Now I'm reaching. I am
Team
reaching.
game, and nobody wants to be the one to
And do you know what the scary factor is? Azalina is still available at some point for Bulgaria as well. They could just slap Azalina down and say, hey, those 3 Mind Blasts are great.
GG. Or, I mean, they've got a deck full of taunts that kept getting Psychic Screen back in there. We haven't got Shadow Visions as Shadow Visions. We haven't got Shadow Visions as Mind Blast. Ooh.
And I mean, a genuine question now.
Okay.
Is there ever a point where fatigue in terms of actually how the players are and how long they're playing becomes a thing that they should be considering here? And should they have acknowledged that this game is or was over and said, all right, let's concede to keep ourselves fresh for what is looking like it is going to be a long series anyway?
I mean, that could go the other way. Maybe Tyler and Ty's both, and Theo actually all going very long on their stream sometimes, don't care how long this goes. And maybe they're thinking, well, if we drag it out forever, maybe Bulgaria will make mistakes in future games.
So they're trying to fatigue their opponents.
Maybe. Just the thought. Like,
yeah,
that's something, it will not affect the Netherlands because they're all used to this. Whereas Bulgaria, probably the biggest game they've ever had for some of them at least. High pressure situation, even though it's pretty easy. Maybe if Thailand and Netherlands just said, let's just take this easy, rope a lot, take our time, still try to find a way to push some damage, because maybe we can just win somehow. Maybe it actually tires the others out more.
And where do you have Tyler on the scale of, we have 16 players who have qualified for the full championships.
Right.
Where would you seed Tyler? Whereabouts do you think he should be placing? Out of those 16 players, are we thinking like top 8?
Top 4?
Semi-finals?
If things went all according to plan, I think maybe, hey, don't watch it back, Tyler. He needs that little tiny bit of experience to win one on the big stage. He's good enough, but I think maybe it would get to him a little bit. It gets top 4, where someone like Sayan is just absolutely comfortable in that position as winner person now.
Well,
but certainly if Tyler won it, I don't think anyone would be upset about it. He's definitely a good enough player.
he is most certainly a fan favourite, and that would have been a painful one to watch if you are a fan of either the Netherlands or Tyler. And eventually he throws in the towel. He does concede. It was a rough one. They gave it a good effort at the start. They kept the armour pretty low. If Alex Straza had maybe come 2 or 3 turns earlier, they still had a good shot, but unfortunately they do fall. We are going to go for a very quick break, but when we come back, we will return this series and find out who's going to advance in this bracket. Bulgaria and the Netherlands are all tied up 1-1 in this series, and we move on to match number 3. And the last one was a grueling one. It was a very hard-fought battle for Tyler, but unfortunately he didn't get there.
Noob.
And the Netherlands are going to...
not him.
Why am I a noob?
For saying that was long.
Oh, yeah. Well, now it's going to be even longer. We did set Hearthstone Global Games history the last time this matchup was seen on screen. It's going to be Big Spell Mage versus the Odd Warrior. Last time, it was 1 hour and 3 minutes that this game took. That is quite the hefty matchup. You couldn't play that on the bus, on your phone.
It depends when you're going on the bus.
This is true.
If you're travelling from the Netherlands into maybe Bulgaria, maybe you could.
Maybe you could. If you are a fan, though, of either of these sides, if you're a fan of Odd Warrior, you can cheer in chat now. You might have seen it on Twitter in general, and we do have a graphic to explain how cheers work. At the moment, currently, there has been, wow, that is a boatload of cheers. I can't even read that number. Is that 7 million cheers?
7 something.
That is 7 million and a lot. You get progress depending on how much you cheer, all the way up to 2,500 bits gets you a card back, and you get all of the other goodies as well. You get lots of packs and all of the good
And
stuff.
I think at 8 million, we get an extra 2 packs for everybody.
And by we, does that mean you've been cheering already?
I will be when I get
cheering?
to access to my cheer off phone.
Yeah, I think the total amount unlocks extra rewards for everyone. Currently, the United States are whopping everyone in the cheer leaderboard as they are 3 million at the moment. Ukraine have bypassed the United Kingdom in the last series.
And the Netherlands
as well.
have just gone insane over the last match.
Well, quite rightly, the Netherlands should start be doing that. I think that's probably Falcone in the background, who's maybe donated about 30,000.
Yeah, he's got all the gold cards now, so he's got nothing left to do with his wealth.
Yeah, so he just needs to donate an insane amount to the Netherlands. But that's how you can get involved. Make sure that your Battle.net account is linked to your Twitch. I believe it's in the connectivity section of Twitch, so make sure to do that before you start cheering with the Bitteroonies. But I guess we start discussing Big Mage versus Odd Warrior. Why is it a lengthy matchup, Lorinda?
Zap, drone, armor. Basically, because even though the mage is favoured, it's not favoured enough if Dr. Boom does well. So the warrior plays on in hope of Dr. Boom. It's not like that last game where you play on in hope of your opponent's falling asleep. You play on in hope of your Dr. Boom performing well. Maybe you do get a run where the mage runs out of AoE for a couple of turns, and you can just get in a couple of hits. Maybe Jane is the bottom card for the mage. Lots of reasons for the warrior not to give up in this unfavourable, but in general, the mage does have just too much stuff.
Yeah, I think even when we saw, I think it was the United Kingdom piloting this Odd Warrior deck, when they thought they were comfortable, they thought they got over that line, suddenly it was a Gruul off of an Elise.
An actual Gruul, not grueling.
Gruul,
yeah.
that won the matchup for the mage, and it's so hard to count these randomly generated cards off of the Elise pack that just makes it a little bit too difficult for the Odd Warrior.
I do think that both of us feel that the warrior shouldn't lose every time, though.
I mean, every time they're just so close. Like I think it was 1 point of fatigue we saw the Odd Warrior lose by, or whether it's just one attack that maybe they could have got in a little bit
And they only got
earlier.
2 delivery drones or something in that whole game in like 20 turns.
And I am going to start my timer, because I'm going to see if we can either break the record or beat the record. I'm starting it now. Timer's going. 1 minute. Oh, sorry, not 1 minute. 1 hour and 3 minutes was the last time we saw this matchup. Let's see if it goes on as long. Either way, buckle up. Get your snacks ready, because despite the fact this is a long matchup, it is an exciting one.
It is surprisingly interesting.
Admittedly, first few turns, just tanking up and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I can understand. You're all going to be a little bit moany in chat, but wait until it gets to the end.
I think when Dr. Boom turns up is when it gets interesting, because every turn is like, oh, will it be delivery drone, or can he make some dudes, or is something going to happen?
And it's whether either side is going to make any mistakes, because both of these teams should know full well this can go fatigue. So, for example, both of these Raven Familiars that are in the hand for Bulgaria, you are not playing those 2 cards until right at the end of the game.
Yeah, because you don't want to go to the fatigue.
Because otherwise you go into fatigue.
The mage does have Skulking Geist. It's a big deal. And that leaves the warrior with an interesting dilemma regarding its Omega assemblies. Let me discuss. Now, the first thought I had when people got Omega assembly in this matchup is you don't want it to get Geisted. So you play it. But how good is it when you play it? How good would you say is drawing a discovered mech in this matchup when you lose on value every time?
I am okay playing one of them. So, for example, turn 1 now, once this screen does show what the cards are, we are going to see an Omega Assembly available on turn 1. And I think guaranteeing yourself that 1 extra card is important here. Well, why wait for turn 10
because
with
you get
both
3
of your
extra
Omega Assemblies?
So, my thought is, having talked to some players about it as well, that this isn't enough in its own right. And so take the chance of them not having the Geist and get 3 cards. Okay, you get the best one, so it's not like getting 3 extra cards. In a way, it's like getting sort of 2 and a bit, because you get the best one anyway.
I feel like that's okay with one of your Omega Assemblies. I can completely understand holding 1 back, but I like using 1 now.
I mean, I used to think this was definitely right, what they've done here, but I'm not so sure anymore.
Well, they've gained a weaponized Pinata out of it, and weaponized Pinata can change this matchup. That is a legendary that could help. That is one more threat that Theo might be able to throw into Best Udyr.
But he could have had all 3 cards if there's no Geist. And how often is there a Geist? Is it half the time? Maybe. Depends on how you mulligan. That is interesting. Because I was the same. I was absolutely sure, and I didn't prep you for me giving you this argument on cast either, that was the old way of doing it, is you use up all your Omega assemblies straight away. I quite like your middle ground of 1 and 1, but I do feel it's worth taking a punt.
If the Netherlands agree with it, then I feel like I'm okay with it as well. I feel like I'm not an idiot, which is good.
Gonna get purple on the blower.
But this is interesting that Theo is now piloting the Warrior, because the last time we saw Theo in this matchup, he was piloting the Mage.
Ah, so maybe he can win it both ways.
That would be impressive. He obviously knows this matchup extremely well because he had to play it for an hour and 3 minutes.
I mean, yeah, that's more than most people have played it for in their lives by an hour and 3 minutes. Also worth pointing out, just while we state the obvious for a second here, that Bulgaria's hand in terms of AoE is currently awful, although they could get a 5-mana Jaina here, which would change things.
Yeah,
And
even though I was talking about not drawing with the Raven Familiars,
yeah,
drawing with the Bright-Eyed Scout is okay because of that Geist. That Geist is going to allow you to stay somewhat similar on the fatigue game because it is going to destroy a few cards. Shield Slams go, and we do see the Omega Assemblies go as well. As Frostlit's Jaina is just 1 turn too late.
double Hatchling and a Zola here for the Netherlands.
Is there an Elise as well?
There is an Elise as well. No Azalina, but
no Azalina.
But they've got all the stuff to keep the fatigue away. And that could be a big deal, especially with Dr. Boom coming down on 7. Could buy a lot of Dr. Boom rolls.
And I think it was last time we saw in this matchup, the Azalina was played by the Warrior on 7 in hope of catching the Frostlit's Jaina, which evidently wasn't in the hand, which could have changed the matchup.
And then they drew their pack.
They did, yeah.
So they couldn't, they had to Azalina away their pack, I seem to remember.
Yeah, it was
And it all just went horrible.
Pretty brutal.
But for the time being, the Netherlands have got a pretty attacking hand, one that's going to be annoying to deal with, slow the mage down and go into their Dr. Boom, who is cheaper than Jaina. So he comes down first, is what I'm trying to say.
He does indeed. His hero powers are going to start to take effect earlier than Jaina's.
One of them is awful against Jaina. It's like, hey, I'm going to make some 1/1s. What could go wrong here? Oh yeah, they all turn into water elementals and leave me.
And now this matchup is more important for Bulgaria, I feel, than it is for the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands would be more than happy if they were to lose this matchup, considering it is a tough one. Because of the matchups that do follow,
Right.
they are decent looking for the Netherlands.
Okay.
Whereas for Bulgaria, they start to look worse. Bulgaria kind of started with 3 very good matchups, and then they go into 2 not so great ones. So if they were to throw away a favourable matchup like this, that would be extremely detrimental to them.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw what happened when Norway, you know, won 3 unfavourable matchups. Turns out you win, because it's the first of 3.
Works out nicely like that. And Theo recognising as well that Polymorph exists, so not attaching Ziliax to the Pinata because he doesn't want to lose all abilities. He's saying, well, if you're going to use a Polymorph, then go for it.
Yeah, doesn't mind getting the value from this speed.
Well, it's just going to be met by a Polymorph, but is there a way you
can shield slam it yourself if you get that before you get geisted.
You wait.
It's the Vignata. It's the Winyata.
Okay, game on. Turn 6. Told you it'd be interesting, chat.
Yeah, we told you it would be quick.
So
It might be yet.
Well, as long as Theo recognises that he cannot just simply plop this onto the board.
Theo and Ties and Mitsuhide and Tyler recognise. One of them.
So not only do they need Shield Slam, they have Reckless Flurry as well. That is another way they can remove this board. If they gain a little bit of armor, Reckless Flurry at some point, and they don't need to rush as well.
I don't think, after the last game, anyone's going to ever accuse the Netherlands of rushing anything.
Ooh.
Dr. Boom likes to rush. You missed.
That is a Polymorph gone. And you know, Bulgaria are going to be like, ha, we've stopped your fatigue plan by getting rid of Direhorn Hatchling.
Yeah, hey, why have you shield blocked?
Little do they know.
Seem to remember, actually, when Rin was played in the Warlock versus Mage match, you could still get surprisingly tight on cards, even without tapping, so...
Yeah.
Various bits and pieces go wrong, so we might actually see them not just go crazy here and start drawing cards all over the place. Because their game plan's changed now. They might not want Dr. Boom in the short term. I think they might be tempted, but now they want Rin and just defend. They're actually now the... They don't know it yet, but Bulgaria are the aggro deck now.
Yeah. And I think the game plan is definitely, on turn 9, Rin into Reckless Flurry. Unless they draw a Shield Slam before that, they have their hero power available, they can get their armor to a very respectable total that cannot be matched by Bulgaria, so they will have the amount to Reckless Flurry it.
Oh my.
And the Netherlands can just start destroying Bulgaria's deck. But as soon as Bulgaria see that Rin has been played and destroyed and know that that's going to be the plan of Netherlands, suddenly these Raven Familiars, these Bright-Eyed Scouts can start to be used, start to draw through through that deck.
But it's not just the threat of losing your deck, it's the minions that are generated. There's 30 worth of minions come out of a Rin.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is not an accident. Someone in the design team went, you know what, this would be funny. You can win the game or you can kill them for 30. They do that sort of thing. They're clever.
And winning a fatigue game with a warrior is definitely a viable way of winning a game. When you can destroy your opponent's deck a long time before yours.
And gain 4 armor a turn.
Gain 4 armor every turn.
So you don't even need to destroy the last 4 attack minions. Just leave it there and go, whew.
So I ask you now, Lorinda.
Excuse me.
This Omega Assembly that was played on turn 1 to get a Pinata to be played on turn 4, which has now given them a Rin and given them a win condition, do you still feel like they shouldn't have played Omega Assembly? Good answer.
I mean, sample sizes.
Yeah,
no, don't try and backtrack. I would backtrack later in private, but not in front of all these lovely people. They're all cheering and celebrating me being here. I don't want to put them off.
That's not why people are donating.
Oh.
They're not cheering with bits for you, Lorinda. Although if you do want to cheer with bits for Lorinda, be my guest. Do it towards the United Kingdom.
No, Norway?
No, get us up on the leaderboard. You're still from the United Kingdom, aren't you?
I picked Norway.
You are Norwegian at heart.
I don't know.
Part of
I'll have a think about
Team
it.
Nordavind.
I'll have a think about it.
All right.
Come on, Norway. Keep winning.
The next turn is when Rin into Reckless Flurry could happen if Theo wants to go down that route this early.
I wonder.
And why wouldn't you? Is the question I pose to you, Mr. Sir
I
Rinda.
would. I would definitely just Rin. Did you call me Rinda?
Maybe.
You're getting, like, funny.
Getting
I mean, you're not. Are you trying to get funny?
The Dragon's Fury probably is going to answer the question for the Netherlands of how they're going to approach this next turn, as they are going to start slapping some demons on the board and get closer and closer to destroying this deck. Oh, now they can just Shield Slam as well, so they don't even have to get rid of the Reckless Flurry.
I want to see Bulgaria cam when this comes down.
I can give you an imitation if you want.
Go on then.
Oh, well, they're just going to Zola it instead.
Can't polymorph 2 of them, because they've already used 1 polymorph. And now you've got 2 Rins, which is 60 worth of minions, and you can blow your opponent's deck up twice.
Well, see, by doing this, they are not only threatening on-board presence, but they were also saying, well, if they have the polymorph, they're going to use it here, and if they don't, then whatever.
Then we can have more minions.
We can have more minions on the board, and we can double Rin it up.
Do not fear.
Imagine blowing the same deck up twice.
Fear those.
That'd be amazing.
Wield it.
First of all, Rin has to die, which it will. And then the Netherlands do have to play minions, which is a bit of a downside because Bulgaria can try and turn them into water elementals. But Theo does look very happy with himself.
I mean, when that Rin came off of the Pinata, I am sure the Netherlands team went absolutely wild.
I mean, we didn't. We took it in our stride. Like mature commentators that we are.
I'd say I went, I don't know, I went pretty nuts.
It was amazing. We've seen some pretty good moments in this Global Games.
There have been some incredible, memorable moments that I'm sure will be added to some form of post-montage of the Global Games.
The Dread.
Swamp King Dread, a particular highlight.
This is up there, though.
This is up
it
there.
might not win yet, but
This is the thing. If it wins them the game, then it's up there. If it doesn't win them the game, then we're like, oh, well, it was fun, wasn't it?
it was exciting while it lasted. I mean, it was Mage versus Warrior. We had to pretend it mattered. Depends which way it goes as to how we sketch it afterwards.
And you start playing these seals,
Here they come.
and they're not water seals.
They are demonic seals.
And the fact you can play 2 a turn, now you're at 10 mana, that's going to get pretty quick into destroying this deck.
And sealing their fate.
Sometimes I just wish I didn't work with you.
Yeah?
But other times, I'm like, hell yeah, he just came up with a really good pun.
I don't remember the other times.
No, okay.
Saving the Reckless Flurry, they probably save that for the whole game now, trying to deal with... Because the Mage slowly gets out of control as water elementals. Like they make one, you kill it. They make one, you kill it. And eventually they make two, and you're like, ooh. And eventually you need to flurry it away.
And yeah, like Bulgaria have to respond by getting aggressive. They have to say, well, we need to stop them playing double seal.
Yep.
And maybe that's by slapping an Alexstrasza on the board.
And there's no good answer.
But I think you're actually all right, just going double seal.
Definitely got to consider it. That's the first thing you want to do, and I think it's okay. Gets you very close to those final 2 turns of winning. Somewhere along the way, you're going to reckless flurry the Alex. You're probably a little bit scared that if you don't do it now, things go a bit awkward.
I've got a feeling, though, we're not going to break a record.
This doesn't feel like a 1 hour, 3-minute game of Hearthstone.
We are 13 minutes and 54 seconds in, and Rin is starting to do her job.
So about another 15 minutes to beat the record of 1 hour 3. Here come the seals as Dan stares into space and scratches his head. I love it when I confuse him. So easy. You okay, Dan?
I have no idea what you just meant. Explain to me later.
Well, 13 minutes plus 15 minutes is 1 hour 3. See, he doesn't understand. Bulgaria, gonna have to deal with this, but they're also just... You okay? Just dealing with Theo by hitting him for the time being, but they're not going to have many more turns.
Well, I'm not going to let this one go. 13 minutes plus 15 minutes is 1 hour 3.
It's 28 minutes, Dan. You're stupid.
What?
And they are generating a water elemental. That took ages to get that one, guys. And now the Reckless Flurry is going to... You're right. Is going to be forced out of the hand because all the armor's going to go otherwise, so they might as well do it.
Yeah, you take this opportunity. This is pretty threatening in terms of a mage board. And you can, if they do take you below that 8 armor that you need, you can Hero Power, Reckless Flurry, and then you can play the 4th seal. Like, it really concerning me that you are just smiling at me, Lorinda. It's very rare that you smile anyway. Yeah. You're clearly chuffed about something.
So Netherlands just going to progress. I mean, if they wipe out this board, they haven't usually got much to worry about.
Not usually, but an Astromancer is in hand.
Yeah, and that's not going to be the smallest Astromancer ever. That would be naught. But it's going to be all right.
Yeah, but as we expected, this Reckless Flurry being used whilst it still can be used. And you add the final seal. We are 2 turns away
from decimation. But the usual age-old counter, or not counter, but way of slowing that is to put your opponent under massive pressure. And that is exactly what Bulgaria did before it got here. They did it as soon as they realised that thing's happening. The seals are coming in.
Yep.
Instant Alexstrasza, really quick recognition because it's not every day you face a Rin in Warrior, so you've got to think quickly. Instant recognition that, hold on, we need to stop this happening, and the only way to do it is to fight back immediately. And that's worked out pretty well for them. I mean, they're not in a great spot, but as it stands, Theo doesn't have much resistance. Obviously, Dr. Boom will help with that if needed. The tank up helps with that. They're only 2 turns from just removing the deck.
The shield block helps with that. There is another shield slam available. There is another Omega assembly available as well. So I like Bulgaria just trying to cycle through their deck a little bit here and put as much pressure on at the same time. Oh, that was almost the same mistake. We'd seen that happen before, hadn't we, in the Global Games? Voodoo Doll and then just pinging the opposition minion rather than the Voodoo Doll.
It's weird how that happens. So... this is the downside I was talking about earlier with the seals. They are having to play minions, which is allowing this state to happen.
But you are putting a 6/6 on the board.
What now?
You have Hero Power, you have Shield.
So you think they can ignore it this turn, maybe? It looks like they might be able to. But then if your minions do get blown up with a Flame Strike or whatever, the things we can see actually exist.
Well, you have the fallback of Dr. Boom into Shield Slam if you have to. You really want to be able to play... you really want to have the ability to destroy your opponent's deck next turn.
You could play 1 seal now and Shield Slam 1 minion. But yeah, I agree with you. You want to get it done as quickly as possible because they are rattling through that deck with those Ravens, as you were describing. And you want to actually destroy something.
So maybe you can play Final Seal plus just Hero Power. Shield Slam the 3/4.
Yeah.
And then Azari can be put onto the board next turn. And what a turn of events this has been for the Netherlands.
And for us.
Well, yeah, we spiced this matchup up, saying, "Oh, it's going to be a long one."
All the people who went to like get their stuff and say, settle in, they've got their tent and their sleeping bag ready because we sent them away. They're going to come back. It's going to be 2-1 for the Netherlands. They're going to be like, what happened?
You lied to us.
You lied to us again.
But if you want to put pressure on, I guess Lich King is a really nice pickup. You want to be finding your really important minions before Azari blows everything up. Maybe Lich King can give you enough things to survive.
Yeah. Picking up a Blizzard while they can. And going to be threatening a lot of damage. Sort of threatening lethal if you count Lich King cards maybe here.
Yeah, because you cannot just slap Azari when Lich King is on the board.
And actually they don't have any things to slap with right now. There is no slappage.
A distinct lack of slappage available for Theo.
You always have to go one better, don't you? We start off with a bit of a slap, and then we end up with, I don't know what you just said.
You could Omega Assembly, see what you get. Maybe there is a 2-mana mech that has 2 attack, and then you can play Dr. Boom, and you can play that alongside the 6/6 on the board.
That'd work well.
Maybe you have to.
Yeah, they haven't drawn much removal this game at all. Which is weird, because that's all their deck is.
I think you have backup plans of taunts and shield block available. But you could start with Omega Assembly just in case. Or you go for the Hail Mary. Ooh, Dynamatic, you risk it.
Yeah, you've got a really good chance. Especially as the Raven's only on 2. So you're at least 50-50. Because you always get that shot at the end after 2/2's died guaranteed. So you're much better than 50-50 there for removing the Lich King.
But game on, and as we said, Bulgaria now are the aggro deck. They have to pile the pressure, and Dragoncaller Alana certainly is a way of pressure. But how many big spells have they actually played?
By the way, if you're a mage player and you're out there and you're playing against Warrior, just do this every time. Don't wait till they win you. Just kill them on turn 7 or something. We don't need to go through all that messing about, you see.
How many big spells have been played? Not sure that many.
Not many at all, because they've been the ones doing the attacking for the most part.
Time melts away.
That's probably the exact question they're asking right now. Because normally you save a line to the end of the game and you know it just fills the board, so it doesn't matter, you don't count. But not many at all.
The time is now.
Not enough to play it by the look of it.
You are sending a wallop load of damage.
Yeah. Yeah, that 50-50 missing has led to a very awkward situation indeed.
And at the moment, still no way of clearing this Lich King currently, aside from the Omega Assembly that I just said. Super Collider isn't going to work because your face is frozen.
And yeah, it would only kill the, yeah. So
it's Omega Assembly.
It's going to be that play you were talking about.
That's a one-mana mech that can have rush. That is a way of killing off a Lich King.
And that's why we've got a picture of it in the window here at the studio.
Oh, we do. It's cute, isn't it?
It is really sweet.
But that has worked out quite nicely for the Netherlands. They can survive just a little bit longer, but Bulgaria just pressuring Netherlands enough that Azari can't come down.
Yeah, they should be able to keep that pressure coming for some time yet. And the is only 9 cards, soon it won't matter. But some of the damage it has done, we mustn't forget, is it has depleted the deck already just by forcing them to draw.
Yes.
So there is still the way of winning the game of Hearthstone that involves not playing Azari.
Yep. Azari has just been an intimidation factor.
Yeah.
It's scared Bulgaria.
Scared Bulgaria into
aggressive.
killing the Netherlands.
Yeah. But they have got some armor gain now. They do have a Direhorn Matriarch as well available. They do have a lot of defensive options. If they can wrestle back board control, then suddenly it becomes extremely intimidating for Bulgaria.
Yeah, I feel what it's weird now. The situation that the Netherlands are in is basically clear up the board somehow, which is proving to be tricky. As Astra managed to get Sleepy Dragon, which is pretty nice. Clear this lot up somehow over the next few turns. Walk into MC Tech, probably not a good idea. And then just play nothing, because you're going to win in fatigue. Normally you're behind in fatigue because of the Geists, which still haven't come to play.
But as you quite rightly, sarcastically pointed out,
Would I?
Mind Control Tech is available now for Theo. And it's very rare you get given the opportunity to play a Mind Control Tech against a Control Mage, to be honest.
What's the worst thing to grab? Is it the 1/4 taunt or is it the 5/5?
Or
is it the 3/4? Actually, they're all weird.
I'd say probably the 1/4 is...
It looks pretty puny.
Statistically the worst.
Yeah, it's got taunt. All depends whether you think taunt's worth 2 attack. But I agree.
Not when you know that the amount of removal that's available.
Oh, the water
to your
elemental
opponent.
heals you and stuff as well. So yeah, you definitely don't want the 1/4.
Time for a master plan.
Well, here we go. Good luck for whoever you're cheering for. It's a big play.
Sleepy Dragon would be nice.
No.
Yeah.
Engaging TC-130.
Oh, well, there we go.
We talked it into it.
I think that was definitely our fault.
Yeah, I think so too. Sorry, Netherlands fans.
Well, at least you have a Direhorn Matriarch just to kind of stop this impending doom from Bulgaria.
And 7 more armor. And you can still blow your opponent's deck up. It's still fun.
Yeah, and that means that you can use shield block a little bit more willingly, where you might not normally. You can use it and then say, hey, later we might be able to have the board
Even
and
if
just
you
play
blow up 3
Azari.
cards or something.
Yeah, like it's still going to be enough.
A Llama bot, an unpowered steam bot. Never has anyone seen such a bigger bag of gubbins.
I completely unrelated and not related to bags of gubbins whatsoever.
Okay.
I did translate Best Udia's Global Games quote for the voting.
Oh yeah, what did he say?
He said, and bear
This
with
is
me,
back when people were voting, right? This is
Yeah,
what
this
every
is-
player said a thing to try and get people to vote for.
and it's a long one.
Okay.
He said, I'm a buzz.
I must decide.
I'm a buzz.
I'm a buzz. Now, I don't know whether that is referencing Buzz Lightyear, or whether he's just saying like he is
A bee?
exciting, or maybe he is buzzing around like a bee,
Or maybe he's like trying to get out of a plug socket.
or maybe the translation was wrong and he's a buzz kill.
Or maybe it's like one word, a buzz. I'm like alive, I'm a buzz.
Yeah. Like exciting.
Yeah.
Gonna bring passion to the Bulgarian side.
With Control Mage.
So what Netherlands could really use
A brawl.
like a brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You normally want delivery drone in this matchup, and there it is, just when you don't need it.
Can Super Collider do some work here? Can you afford here to just play Azari?
1, 2, 7, 11,
Time for a
14.
master plan.
Maybe, but then if you... Ooh. Maybe you can, because it's probably the turn where you least want to use your hero power, oddly enough. It's still a good one.
You play Azari, you have a chance of hitting armor again next turn. You've got a shield block, you have Stonehill Defender, you even have the Steam Bot there. Yeah, slam that bad boy down.
The one
Destroy that
problem with
deck.
this is you force Bulgaria to go straight at you, and you don't have an answer for anything.
I'm out of cards.
No, their answers are shield block and taunt.
Sure. And zap.
And a 10-10.
I mean, 10/10s are good. And his dog Snowy.
Time melts away.
Meanwhile, Bulgaria are going to be able to accumulate loads of armor, but it's just not going to matter.
There's very few things that tickle me on a broadcast, Lorinda, but that one got me.
Which is weird, because the height of the badness just got overloaded, right?
Yeah, Bulgaria now forced to just send this damage to face and pressure the Netherlands as best as possible. But shield block, zap, Steambot.
Is now.
You're looking all right.
Yeah, they can hang on. I mean, that was the calculated risk, that they can hang on long enough.
So you need to stay up. You need to be above 15, including taunts that are available. I'm big owl.
Defreeze your 10-8,
Can
so it's
help.
pretty good.
Yep.
We don't think that many big spells have been played at all by Bulgaria.
Well, they played a Flame Strike and a double Blizzard, so actually they played enough for it to be
it's
threatened.
fine, right? Yeah.
Okay then.
So the Ironbeak Owl, unfreeze your Azari, kill off the 4/6. You then have Shield Block and a Steambot. I don't think the zap on the Artificer is important.
Yeah, you're not bothered about them gaining armor. You're bothered about them hitting you, but you're not that bothered about being hit for 1 for the time being.
Shield Block and search for answers first. Double Owl.
So you can freeze your own face? That's not how that works. You also can't take away the lifesteal. They're still in a bit of a pickle.
And you are quite worried because this unpowered Steambot could be met by a Meteor, for example.
Yeah.
You don't know what is in the hand for Bulgaria.
Yeah, not many reads in this matchup either, because basically they've just plonked all their big stuff down as quickly as they can.
And if there were to be a Meteor,
Would it be 1 off, I believe?
it would be 1 off.
Getting all the worst things with Boom.
Yeah. Kaboom Bot. They just need that brawl. They need that.
Anything.
A little bit
Clear
of
this board once, they win.
To be fair, Stonehill Defender is going to do a lot of work here, and they have Rin. That's 2 taunts they could just put on the board.
And there's only 8 cards left, and there must be, as I scramble for the deck lists and look at the Warrior.
There's 2 brawls.
Yeah, 2 brawls, big hatchlings,
Time melts away.
matriarchs is the word I'm looking for.
One's already been played, and the other one got polymorphed.
Yeah. So none of them. Giggling Inventor, there's 1 off. Has that been seen? Don't believe it has. But there's also Baku the Moon Eater.
Time
And you
is
don't want
now.
him eating moons about now. It's not the right time for it.
Man, unfortunately, with the Owl being on the board, that means that's another water elemental that can be summoned. And it looks like Bulgaria are just going to go all in if they're playing this Gluttonous Ooze as well, which
And
they are.
This was my issue, unless Brawl comes up now. MC Tech doesn't seem enough, but maybe it's okay. This is my issue with playing the Azari, is it forced Bulgaria into doing this, knowing you hadn't got a solution. That's the play that I think people overlook quite often in Hearthstone, is forcing your opponent to only have 1 course of action, and it's the 1 course you can't stop. Can sometimes be wrong. I'm not saying it was definitely wrong here.
So Stonehill Defender first and see what you get. You might be forced into Mind Control Tech and hope.
Yes, steal Ziliax and hope.
Ziliax would be fantastic. Bronze Gatekeeper, unfortunately, it isn't really going to... it's the highest health minion that you can currently play.
Because the Gastropod just gets blown up by the Drake, if they know it's there. Which they don't, they've seen one. But
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
don't tell me it's going to be just another way of the mage looking like it's lost, but actually it hasn't.
I think we might be going that way,
Dislocate her.
to be honest, Lorinda. Because now Ziliax cannot be greeted. Oh wait, no, it has Rush. They could have charged in the 1/5 and the 10/4, killed off Ziliax. There would have been 13 damage left on board, and a Drake. There must be a way that Bulgaria just get through here, and I'm going to allow you to just try and add this up in your head, Lorinda. But just at first glance, this looks like lethal.
Yeah, it involves Primordial Drake at some point, and then that's the end of that.
Yeah, I think now you can just attack in one of the
Yeah.
3/3s. It can be a Ziliax or whatever. And despite the fact Rin gave Netherlands such a good opportunity at winning this game, the Control Mage yet again beats the Odd Warrior, even though it looked like it was down and out. It was only 33 minutes, that game. It wasn't quite the record of 1 hour and 3 minutes, Lorinda.
So what do you think about Omega Assembly on turn 1?
What gave them a chance in this matchup? I still think it's right.
We'll see.
I will stand by...
Only sing when you're winning. That's what you're like.
No, I'm still singing. Omega Assembly is still right on 1.
Okay.
It gave them a chance in that matchup, which otherwise they might have still lost by a narrow margin.
Well, they might have drawn 3 cards.
There was no Geist, was there? We didn't
No.
see a Geist.
But it's an interesting one. It's a debate that I'm quite willing to entertain any time, any place, like most debates with me, in fairness.
You do like your debates. Let's have a look at the matchup and see what's going to be coming up next then, as currently Bulgaria lead 2-1, and they are 1 game away from advancing in this bracket and facing the United Kingdom in the winners bracket final of this group. It is going to be Paladin versus Evenlock. We're going to have a little bit of a switch up of tempo, as it's going to be the odd Paladin, but it is going to be the chance for the Evenlock just to really dominate with their Defiles, with their Hellfires, and all of that jazz.
Yeah, any other stuff like Doom Guards as well, Doomsayers as well. Actually isn't one, but there's still plenty of ways of getting rid of stuff.
There is Moss's Horror.
Punch people with a giant later on.
Mossy Horrors as well, available in this Evenlock.
We have seen the Paladin win this, but it usually involves a lot of patience and a decent early start.
Yeah, this is where the matchups start to get good for the Netherlands. And this is why I was saying it was a very important victory with the big Spell Mage against the Odd Warrior, because we have the Evenlock now, and then afterwards it's Aggro Mage versus Token Druid. And now that's another matchup that we have argued about in the past.
Yeah.
I was on the side of Token Druid because of the sheer amount of armor gain, but we have seen what Mage can do, and typically Mage is favoured in that one because of the amount of aggression.
Although the Druid has started to be able to block the way a bit more. So
it has.
It's changed it a little bit the other way again. It's interesting.
It is pretty close, but I guess we can discuss that more when it actually arrives.
If,
not when. No ifs, buts, and...
Maybe.
Okay. But Evenlock against Odd Paladin, I have played this matchup quite a lot on the Evenlock side for sure. Defile is one of your key cards that you want to be looking for early on. Hellfires can help out. Is there any way that you can misplay as the Evenlock in this matchup? Like,
I think there's a lot of ways you can misplay. We saw Crane and the gang 1 week keep their 1 AoE spell and basically just lop down a mountain giant so they could actually put a clock on the opposition, because otherwise you clear up the board with your last AoE and they just make another board. It doesn't get you anywhere. So not occupying the board, I think, can be a mistake sometimes if you can find enough time to make that slot happen, to get something on the board.
Is there something to be said for using AoE spells too soon as well, like an underwhelming board?
Like going into turn 5, you need that board to be clear one way or another, otherwise Fungalmancer can hurt you, level up can hurt you, although it tends not to hurt you so much on level 5. Level 5?
Level 5? What kind of game are we playing now?
I don't know anymore. That's just what my characters are at in Hearthstone. But also, it tends to be better. Level up tends to be better after the Vine Cleaver. So, great if you've got a board on turn 5. Sure, use it, but quite often it gets saved till turns 8, 9, 10 for a final push if you're still alive as a Paladin.
Yeah, because you do need that. You need to be brave, I feel, with the Paladin in this matchup. You do need to take a few risks here or there, because if you do just say, all right, we're going to play safe, because what if they've got Defile, what if they've got Hellfire, then you're just giving the Warlock more time to draw that Defile, draw that Hellfire. You need to just say, I'm going to stick my minions on the board. I know I'm at a disadvantage here. If they have it, they have it. But if they don't, I'm giving myself the best chance to win.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you force them to play it if they've got it, but also if you possibly can have that reload, which is the same as any aggro deck versus any control deck, in fairness. But you're right, when the time comes, it's just like, I've got rid of 2 AoEs, hope for the best.
It's an interesting noise. Yeah. You'll notice that Lorinda is one of these people that adds sound effects to absolutely everything, because if you didn't know, he plays Hearthstone in silence. So you can imagine him at home making sound effects for every single card and interaction, because he's Lorinda, and that's the kind of thing he would do. But to talk relevant to Netherlands, I know we've had this discussion about other teams, and we've said, who's the shot caller? Who's the man who's going to be talking a lot? It was like Toast Monster, for example, for the United Kingdom. I don't know if you know, and if you don't, who do you think is the kind of the big voice in the Netherlands side?
So I imagine Mitsuhide's the quiet one.
Yes, I can get
I can imagine him really getting angry if something's going to go wrong and shouting, stop, no, don't. Bit like Paul yesterday.
Where is Paul?
He's
okay,
he's recovered from hospital now.
That's fine.
I imagine that Tyler's fairly willing to sit back and only interject when needed.
Okay.
So I would say my guess would be that Theo would be the shot caller, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think Theo is probably a good choice. Even though Tice, I imagine, is very vocal.
He's probably the talkiest.
Yeah, I would say that in terms of credibility, I mean, they're all fantastic players. Do you think that maybe teams lean on the most successful as of late? Because Tyler's just qualified for the championship.
It's basically going to be who has played, not even necessarily done well, because they're all supremely strong players, but who has played the most meta-relevant tournaments recently.
Okay.
So they're all going to trust each other to be good enough, but it's like, okay, you recently played whatever event, you probably know the most about it, or you've been playing top 25 Legend, you probably know the most about it. And that will vary in this team, but I imagine at the moment that could be Tyler.
Could be Tyler. And we did just see the players that are going to be piloting these two decks on your screens as well. It's going to be Mitsuhide versus Django. What can you tell me about Mitsuhide as a player?
So he won DreamHack Winter 2016, I believe it was.
Is that Valencia? Or not?
Oh, he won Winter.
Okay. I think he won
Sweet.
Valencia as well.
Okay.
Oh, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Shush me. He was Winter. He came top 16 at DreamHack Valencia.
He's had a fairly tough year results-wise, but obviously the work he's done with Hunter Ace, Orange, people who have won a lot of things, those people don't just win a lot of things because they're good, they win a lot of things because the people they practice with, and Mitsuhide is one of those. As I say, on a personal level, over the course of 10 tournaments or something, he's had a fairly bad run.
Yeah.
But that's a small sample size. You can have a bad run over 10 tournaments, whoever you are. He is an extremely good Hearthstone player, and for the longest time I think was regarded as possibly one of those in the discussion for best in world. But I think he's slipped down a tier from there these days, personally.
He hasn't had the best of years, that's for sure.
But
considering last year he won Seat Story as well.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
I don't know whether it's he's maybe taken a step back since having a few of those victories, or whether he's just not had...
I think he's just had a bad run.
Yeah.
I think some metas suit some people. Everybody says how good this guy is at Hearthstone still. But he gets overlooked a little bit because he hasn't had those power performances on stream. Hunter Ace, just saying. Mercy, those guys have.
And on the other side for Django, I remember in interviews with him, he has been asked the question of, do you kind of feel threatened going up against players who have maybe more experience or a bigger background or bigger personalities? And he always says, no, not really. It doesn't affect how we play. We just focus on every game. You saw how well they performed in the Swiss. I mean, they beat the blooming reigning world champions, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's the end of them.
So you cannot underestimate these Bulgarians.
Yeah, and he's incredibly passionate and works incredibly hard too. I can't remember who it was, but somebody, might have been Falcone or Dowett last night on the community show saying, no, we've seen so many Bulgarian flags in this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's mainly Django's fault. He's also been passionate to talk to. You know, when he thinks something isn't right, he'll say so. One of those people.
What do you think about using the Ooze here on turn one just to compete with the board?
I guess they looked at their hand and thought, well, when else do we use it?
Reporting for duty.
I mean, do you want to take down a Vine Cleaver later?
You want to, you do, but if you don't use Use, you get to that turn. It is interesting. My instincts are to keep it back, but they seem to agree on this play really quickly.
Well, the fact they can protect this 3-1 with a Voga Homunculus means that I think I'm okay with it.
And look how the board state could have been. Could have been pretty bleak.
Speaking of bleak, there's Baku arriving to the scene. Sometimes Baku can actually work out quite nicely. You can plop him onto the board on turn 9 when you need him, but...
Yeah, but you don't want it in your hand for 6 turns.
Yeah, not really.
Cluttering up your place like a 3-year-old bin.
And we do see double Divine Favor for Bulgaria as well, so you definitely don't want your hand being cluttered up by Baku.
And also you don't want to hold on to your Swampoos for too long.
Okay, so for that reason... well, I mean...
Just going back to that, no, I'm not saying that was why, but also, you know, if you've got it in your head, that's a thing, you might as well empty your hand too.
Yeah. But if that was the main reason, then Netherlands probably wouldn't be tapping here, for example. I think it's hard to ignore... It's hard to keep your hand size low as an even block.
The other problem here is they haven't got any AoE, so they were forced into challenging the board. I feel like if they got a Defile in their hand, they wouldn't have done that.
Yep, okay.
But they were forced into trying to keep things low while they get to that AoE. Likewise, tapping, you can see Mitsu's face. He's like, oh, what's this hand? This isn't the hand we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have all this removal.
And Bone Mare is a card that does creep up every now and then in even lock, usually in the greedier builds. But it could work out very nicely in this matchup in particular.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more of it rather than less and less as well, which surprises me. But over quite a few tournaments now, it seems to be... I'm not even surprised when Bone Mare's in decks anymore. Whereas the first couple of times, I think Theo was one of the first to try it. I mean, he tried it instead of the Lich King at DreamHack Summer.
Wow, that is
like, I'm not quite sure why you did that.
Bizarre. Did it work out?
He did okay, but nothing special. But I think probably somebody had a word and said, wait, yeah, we agree, this card's good, but how about you keep the Lich King as well?
Yes.
That's also good.
Sacrifice something a little bit more minuscule. Not the big man himself.
It is interesting when you try and tune a deck, and you quite often realise very quickly that there's a card missing from the deck that you should be playing. And then you cut the wrong thing and you talk to people about it and they're like, no, 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 we understand your idea is really good, but why have you done this?
And it is bizarre that in a 30-card deck...
Yeah, and 20 of them are absolutely guaranteed.
One card can make or break a tournament.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw earlier the Holy Fire of the United Kingdom in the mirror match.
Yeah.
You know, that made a difference. Whether it would make a difference a huge percentage of the time is hard to tell, but it definitely made a difference and definitely would over 100 games.
A smile on the face of Mitsuhide as he was probably a smile of relief when he saw the maul and its only taunt. The worst one that Django could have got, for sure.
Yeah, but still no AoE, and it's going into turn 5, and he will be absolutely terrified that he's about to get a caboodle of 3/3s straight in the chops.
So if you are concerned of that caboodle, I guess you just have to trade one.
Yeah, just do what you can. This is what that early Swampoos were all about, although it's not going to work out too great, especially now.
And the reason why the even lock is favoured in this matchup is because of the AoE effect, because of the Defiles.
Now, the problem for Django is he doesn't know there's no AoE.
True.
If he could see the hand like we can, he'd just be going, oh, lovely. Hit you really hard.
If he could see the hand like we could, he'd probably be telling someone to go into the stream and throw a few cheers already.
Yeah, that's the thing he'd do. He'd probably done that. Aka Wonder was doing that last night.
Cheering for his own team?
He was telling people to cheer for his team because the other teams aren't as good. His team being Spain, by the way. So if you're an Aka Wonder fan, cheer for Spain because that's what he wants you to do.
Bulgaria did beat Spain as well in the Swiss phase. It won 3-1.
If you're not an Aka Wonder fan, cheer for Bulgaria.
Cheer for Bulgaria because they took them down. But there is no level up here available. So it's whether you're happy to commit with one raid leader. You're saying, all right, if there is a Defile, I'm not losing that much anyway. These 1/1s have kind of been sat. They've done their job thus far. They've done a decent amount of chip damage. The scary factor is you are putting your opponent down to a tappable into Hooked Reaver possibility.
I think that's fine though. If they end up using all their mana for that, you just play your other raid leader and hit him again, even harder.
Hit him again.
Very, very hard.
But I think as the Paladin, you can't worry about putting your opponent down too low. Too many times I've seen aggressive or fairly aggressive decks try and manipulate the Warlock's life total to a point where they can't play Hooked Reavers.
Yeah.
And then they miss out on damage that if they had pushed that damage, they would have had lethal later on.
Definitely a thing. And right about now is when Bulgaria will get the tip that actually there is no removal at all in my opponent's hand.
Yeah, because you would use it on this board.
Yeah, I mean, this is a menacing looking board now. And playing a plated beetle, for instance, is not a menace, it's a beetle.
So do we think we're even considering spellbreakering a raid leader?
I mean, that's the consideration. Also, is Sun Fury protecting some beetles? It's not looking nice, and you're right, it's just going to spellbreaker this.
And this life total is a scary factor for the Netherlands.
Divine Favour picked up, so Raid Leader into Divine Favour could set up an amazing next turn. They do have to be a bit aware of the trades. Now, even though they know there's likely no AoE in hand for the opposition, there's a great chance of it being top deck. It's not like a one-card top deck they're playing around here. There's 2 draws at it, Hellfire, Defile, so pretty decent chance.
You can set your opponent down to 4 here if you're Django. Spellstones are a thing, but we've not seen any damaging abilities yet. Not seen any Hellfires to buff up the Spellstone either.
Nothing's happened here.
The Netherlands have just been taking a boatload of damage turn after turn with little to no answer. The Plated Beetle at least is going to gain a little bit of armor, and they do have a Sun Fury Protector to build a little bit of a wall. You've got Homunculus, Plated Beetle, and Sun Fury Protector.
But he's just getting hit.
Yeah, next turn Vine Cleaver is going to arrive as well.
Yeah, and Django's like, don't draw your AoE, and he hasn't drawn his AoE. He's going to have to tap to find some, I think. Have a quick check first to make sure there's no good Sun Fury play. I mean, there is with Homunculus and Beetle, but ooh.
So you can kill off both raid leaders. You can trade in the Shroom Brewer, kill off the 2-1, use your Plated Beetle into the 3-2, and use your Spellbreaker into the other raid leader. You're leaving 2 1-1s on the board. You then play another Plated Beetle, potentially Homunculus, and the Sun Fury Protector. You're then sitting at 5 after the Homunculus damage and the armor gain from the Beetle.
And the other problem here isn't just dealing with the board, it's the fact that you won't be able to deal with the next board because you're so low on health. So you deal with boards for a while, you're going to be so low you don't want to tap. And you've got to keep drawing AoE after AoE, because now the ability to chain them is gone from having them in your only hand. Oh. Well, like you say, extra Beetle. And generating a board that could possibly counterattack and try and get this job done the other way.
Yeah, this is the turning point now for the even lock.
That was clever how you did that. You turned at the same time as saying turning point. I liked it. Well, Corridor Creeper can be brought into action this turn as well as a Vine Cleaver, for instance. They need to have a good look at the Righteous Protector plays. With Fungal Mancer looks pretty tasty here, to be honest.
Yeah, you want to look at what trades are available, and
the Fungal Mancer ones work out really nicely.
And this is where it gets so frustrating if you're on the side of the Paladin. You just got your opponent down to 4, and then suddenly you're like, wow, how do I get through all these taunts? And I'm giving my opponent armor. And at any point, they could have a Hooked Reaver, they could have a Spellstone.
Yeah, that's what they're thinking.
They were excruciatingly close.
And they've still got a handful of stuff versus 4 cards. So it's not over yet. They can try and set up to get lethals every turn for 3 or 4 turns.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this Vine Cleaver can do so much work if they were to play that.
I mean, the Mountain Giant's never getting played this game.
No.
It's just not happening.
The light dims, but we fight.
Converting stored energy.
Keeping back the Corridor Creeper in return for just having more stuff. No way of playing around Defile apart from hope they don't draw it. Don't think Hellfire is good enough. It might be good enough to keep them alive for a turn.
Has to be.
Yeah. But then Vine Cleaver puts them down to 1.
And then you've got nothing to put Bone Marrow onto.
Yeah, and you can't tap.
So many possibilities.
Wow.
Bulgaria just... they're right there. And they must be petrified of something like a Hooked Reaver.
I've seen the Django play like every single round, I think, in this tournament, and it's worked all but one of them.
And having to tap...
It's
you do find
Defile!
Defile, though. Okay, Defile's good. That keeps you at 6, at least.
Oh, wow. So Netherlands are pretty concerned right now about Leroy, which is in the deck. So now they have 2 AoEs, but no health with which to use the resource. And they're going to be down to 2 if no Leroy is drawn. Presuming the Vine Cleaver just goes straight to the face.
Netherlands need something big. They won't be able to tap either if this Vine Cleaver does go to phase, which, I mean, I cannot see a world where it wouldn't.
that disables the Bone Mare, it disables the Hellfire. Gen doesn't save you.
It's Hooked Reaver or bust.
Hooked Reaver or lower bracket versus Hong Kong tomorrow, in match number 2. It's kind of like bust, but it's not the same thing.
Skulking Geist is not going to save you, and Bulgaria are going to find their way through with the old Paladin against the even lock. No early removal was there, and just a little fist pump there from Django as he does find the victory, which means their reward is the United Kingdom tomorrow for a chance at BlizzCon.
Wow. And that will be on late in the day tomorrow for the UK fans, for the Bulgaria fans.
Would you have put Bulgaria as one of your teams in the top 8 when this tournament started?
Got to admit it, no.
I don't think many would, but I think
as it went along, they've grown on us.
They have impressed us quite a lot. As we've ticked along in this tournament, they have grown and grown, and they've shown that they can keep up with the big boys. I mean, Czech Republic taken down, Netherlands now taken down. That's 2 huge teams. Let's take a look at the matchup, though, and see how everything played out right from match 1, which does seem like quite some time ago now. Silent Storm wasn't able to find the victory with his Hunter against Tice's OTK Paladin, but then the Bulgarians started to rise as they went match after match to take this series 3-1.
Yeah, obviously with the Mage beating the Warrior in a simple game as always. Why does it always look like Warrior's going to win? They tried a new way of baiting us in there this time. Yeah, we still fell for it.
I don't know, man. I still thought it was there. It was a fantastic way to play the game from the Bulgarian side, though.
I think they played really well. That immediate Alex to basically sort of throw the Rin off. And I'm not sure the Netherlands adjusted quickly enough to the trouble they might be in. So, yeah.
Either way, Bulgaria do find a victory, and we have probably a very happy Bulgarian man who is going to be joining us for an interview as well. Django, I believe you are going to be alongside me. Django, can you hear us, my friend?
Yeah, I can. Hey, what's up?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty happy for you guys. That was an incredible series. I just want to ask you, first of all, how did you feel when you saw Rin come into play when you were playing the Odd Warrior versus Mage?
Wow, that was so stressful. Like, we even started counting what's the percentages of that happening.
That's a constructive use of your 75 seconds.
Yeah, we also had Jaina, and we were like, okay, it's fine. We had Polymorph for their Direhorn Hatchling and so on, and we were feeling okay. And that was really stressful to see her in there.
And how quickly did it take you guys to realise that the Alex Straza there was really going to slow that Rin down? Like you insta Alex Straza after the Rin.
Yeah, I mean, we were even considering to not put Alex, but it paid off that we played it.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have choice. Like, we had to pressure there. We had all the 4 draw cards in the hand, like 2 Ravens, 2 Scouts.
Yeah.
So yeah, the pressure was the only play there.
So you will have to now face the United Kingdom for a chance at BlizzCon. How does the team feel about facing off against the UK? Have you looked at their lineup at all, or were you pretty much focusing just on the Netherlands?
We look in all the group. Like, we kind of predicted that Hong Kong will be playing again aggro lineup, and Netherlands will be playing like more slow decks, like control, anti-control lineup, and UK were going the same way as well. So it was kind of easy to predict that 2 out of 3 teams will be more like slower decks. So that's how we prepared. And also, I'm really looking to face UK, especially because board control. I'm really enjoying his streams, and I would really like to face him. Also, yeah, we are going to play against them in week 3, I think. But then the bracket get shuffled again. Yeah. And before that, I said, Bor, like, we are playing against you. Good luck, and so on. And he was like, okay. Free win then.
Your chance to prove him wrong.
Yeah, we'll see is it free or not.
And what would it mean to you guys and Bulgaria if you were able to make it to BlizzCon?
I mean, it's a really big accomplishment. I don't know. We'll be so happy. Like, that was our goal when we started. Like, our first goal was, let's make it to BlizzCon, and then we'll think about it.
Nearly there.
You are nearly there. Well, best of luck in your match against the United Kingdom tomorrow, and hopefully you might be able to rub a little bit of salt in the wounds of ball control if you do find a victory. We will see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you, Django.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
And what a victory it was for Bulgaria as well. It is no easy feat to take down a squad like the Netherlands. When you look at the players that are available, you have to just put your hands up and say, well, that is just some well-played Hearthstone from Bulgaria, and we can watch some of that well-played Hearthstone once again with these highlights.
Django reminds me a little bit of Glazer from last year, where he sort of appears to be carrying a team on his own in one turn, although obviously now Hatul for Israel has also made playoffs. But Django sort of reminds me of that. It's like every week he's on here, we're saying, we were wrong, you're good, we're sorry. And that's sort of how we were interviewing Glazer last year.
And this series could have been so different. I mean, we got a brief glance of that game number 1, which was probably a misplay by Bulgaria, where they potentially could have extended that game a little bit longer. But instead, they allowed Tice to get that OTK. And then we started to get into the slogfest, into the real grindy control matchups, where this one just felt unwinnable.
Yeah, this never seemed like Tyler could get into it, and we're talking about all sorts of nonsense trying to work out, I mean, what's even going on.
He starts pinging his own face.
It's not even a good self-attack. I do wonder if the Netherlands were a bit too slow to respond to the danger here. Not this turn, but maybe 3 or 4 turns prior. Trying too hard to force the Azari out. After the Major started drawing cards, the damage has been done. The Azari's done its job. And they're not going to let you just plonk it onto the board. So maybe, and you and I were advocating go quickly as well.
Yep.
But maybe in hindsight, the actual plan is to just proceed as normal. Your 4 cards are heading fatigue already. Use a couple of those cards to shield block, maybe pinch a couple of cards at the end with Azari, and just make sure you've got enough stuff to deal with stuff.
The real shame for Netherlands in that matchup was both those brawls just sat in the bottom of their deck, just waiting. And this one was it was painful to watch for Mitsuhide. His Hellfire, his Defile just arriving far too late. And Bulgaria able to push a boatload of damage through and find the victory and get themselves 1 game away from BlizzCon. Let's take a look at the bracket of this group now, because we have had 2 games already, or 2 series. It will be the UK versus Bulgaria tomorrow, and we also have Hong Kong going up against Netherlands. Remember, only 2 teams can advance to BlizzCon from this group. UK, Bulgaria, they just need to win 1, whereas Hong Kong and Netherlands, they still have to win another 2 to be able to get through.
Yeah, and that is going to be the winners match and the losers match, I believe, are both tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to try and work out how much damage a boat does.
Well, the boat can do a lot of damage. It depends who is driving said boat. We have more Hearthstone coming your way. Funnily enough, that's what we do at Hearthstone Global Games. 1 more series is going to be heading your way. It's going to be Falcone and Dark running you through the action, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly.